Others reborn. Others are all wealthy. Others embrace beautiful women, even if not. Others can also copy and show off the book of songs to walk towards a new peak in life. And my rebirth has turned me into a prisoner. Please give me back the script of my leading male character. The world he was reborn into. Not only are there dangerous creatures like Guaikur's Buddha, and the water in the capital city where he resides is also very deep. If he is not careful, he could easily lose his life. But who made me the protagonist? I'm extremely lucky. I turn bad luck into good fortune. I pick up money and visit brothels every day. I live worry-free. But this is just the surface of Aaron Su. He doesn't even know behind the scenes. He is just a chess piece in the hands of an old guy. The beginning of the story. Aaron Su was still dreaming. But suddenly a strong smell hit him right on the forehead. He thought to himself, "Surely, that husky at home must have come to poop on the bed again." When he opened his eyes and took a look, a large boa was right in front of his face. Aaron Su subconsciously reached out to push it away. Just at the next moment, the dog disappeared without a trace. Instead, there was something new in his own hand. He is currently in the dungeon of Capital Commandery. But he clearly remembers that he was not at the bar yesterday, celebrating his promotion and raise with those drinking buddies, right? But suddenly, a sharp pain shot through him. A memory that did not belong to him kept flooding into his mind. Aaron Su's father died in the Battle of Mountains and Seas 19 years ago, and his mother passed away shortly after due to illness. He was raised by his second uncle since he was young. He practiced martial arts year-round and reached the peak of spirit forging at the age of 18. However, he has since stalled in his progress. He relies on his second uncle's connections and has become a law enforcer in the county government office under Changle County, which is under the jurisdiction of the Capital Commandery. Aaron Su only just realized that he has been reborn. He is still a law enforcer, so even after being reborn, he has to return to his old profession as a police officer. As for why he is in prison now, it is because 3 days ago, Uncle Zane Su, a rank 7 official green robe Imperial Blade Guard, escorted a shipment of tax silver to the Department of Household Affairs. During the journey, 150,000 taels of tax silver went missing. The Emperor was furious. The Emperor personally ordered Zane Su to be executed in 5 days. The male members of his 3 generations were to be exiled to the borderlands. Zane's female relatives were sent to the Imperial Entertainment Bureau. Nephew Aaron Su, as Zane Su's relative, has been dismissed from his position and imprisoned in Capital Commandery. And there are only 2 days left before he is exiled to the borderland. Isn't this a hellish start in hardcore mode? This world is still under the rule of the feudal dynasty, with no human rights. What is borderland? The place is desolate and the climate harsh. Most of the criminals exiled to borderland can't survive for more than 10 years. And even more people die on the way to borderland due to accidents or illnesses before reaching there. Aaron Su swallowed hard, imagining that there must still be a chance. So he whispered, "System? System Daddy, come out quickly." Only after a long time, Aaron continued to shout like a fool. "There is no system. I must find a way to save myself. I can't just die like this." So he came up with the first solution. He wants to escape from prison. He is a soldier in the category rank 9, which is the peak level of spirit forging. His physical fitness is terrifyingly strong. But he is not very strong in this world. The plan of escaping from prison was aborted. The second method? Rely on family and friends? But the Su family is not a large clan, and the clan members are scattered all over the place. And a total of 150,000 taels of tax silver were robbed. Who would dare to plead at this critical moment? It's definitely not going to work. Then he's left with only one way out. According to the law of Defying, make up for the past by performing meritorious deeds. He can be exempt from the death penalty. But to achieve that, he must retrieve the silver. And now he has fallen into prison again, without detailed case records. His current situation. It's really useless to shout until one's voice is hoarse. Just then, a person came in to visit with the prison guard. The person stopped right in front of Aaron Soo. The newcomer is Nico Soo's own son, Zane Soo's second uncle. His younger cousin, Defying, recently passed the imperial examination and is now studying at Yalu Academy. He is a powerful warrior who excels at speaking eloquently. He remembers that the original owner of this body had a poor relationship with this younger cousin. And his purpose for coming this time is to tell Aaron Soo. The soldier escorting him to Borderland took 300 taels from Nico Soo. This is the only silver left in their family. This will ensure Aaron Soo can travel safely. There will be no accidents on the way. But the honors and titles of Nico Soo have been revoked. However, he is being protected by the head of the academy. He won't be exiled. Aaron Soo looked at Nico Soo, who had a carefree look on his face. He knew. I'm afraid Nico Soo's situation is not as simple as just having his honors and titles revoked. He also has to descend to a lowly status in society, and his descendants will be prohibited from taking the imperial examinations. They will never be able to turn their lives around. Moreover, the female relatives of the Soo family will be sent to the Imperial Entertainment Bureau in 2 days to endure great humiliation. Nico Soo is a man of learning. How can he still have the face to live in this capital city? Aaron Soo directly stated his purpose. Do you want to commit suicide? Nico Soo looked in horror at his older cousin standing in front of him, and with just a few words and actions, he guessed what he wanted to do. But he still stubbornly turned his head away and coldly retorted, "What's it to you?" Then, he hesitated for a moment. He still felt a bit reluctant after all. They are all family. Then he said resolutely, "You must live well." After saying that, he turned around and left. Aaron Soo pulled him back. Joking aside, now is not the time to give up. He stared at Nico Soo and said solemnly, "Document file, help me get the document file of the tax silver disappearance case." Modern criminal investigation techniques. Crime scene investigation, surveillance, and autopsy. The 3 essential elements are indispensable. However, in ancient times, there was no surveillance. The tax silver disappearance case involved no deaths. Now his only breakthrough is the document file. Fortunately, the document file can partly reconstruct the crime scene. Just Nico Soo doesn't understand why Aaron Soo needs the document file. If Aaron Soo were to say, "I want to solve the case," Nico Soo would probably think he was out of his mind. Aaron Soo just made up an excuse. "I want to know what happened during the incident." Even if someone has to die, they need to die understanding the truth. Nico Soo didn't think much anymore. "I have looked at the document file, and can tell you about it." Aaron Soo just refused, and asked him to write it down. Recounting is meaningless. He needs to know all the details of the case. Recounting is easy to subconsciously overlook some things that you think are not important. Nico Soo didn't say anything. He turned around and left. He watched Nico Soo's back getting further and further away. It all depends on what happens next, whether he lives or dies. After a long time, the sound of footsteps is getting closer and closer. Nico Soo has returned. He transcribed the document file word for word. Aaron Soo sat down eagerly and looked at it. He didn't hear anything Nico Soo was saying behind him. Nico Soo was also helpless. Perhaps this might be the last time we meet in this lifetime. "Take care of yourself," he said, and then turned around and left. Aaron Soo was still immersed in the document file. Only after a long while, Aaron Soo sighed. It turns out that reading is still very useful. He barely knows what these characters are writing. 3 days ago, 6:30 in the morning, Imperial Blade Guard Zane Soo escorts a shipment of tax silver into capital city. At 7 a.m., in the first quarter, the procession reached Street G just after crossing the bridge. Suddenly, a strange wind arose, startling the horses, which bolted into the river along the street. Shortly after, a deafening explosion rang out. The river water exploded 6 yards high. The muddy waves surged to the sky. Soldier jumped into the river to search for silver. However, he only found 1,250 taels of silver. The rest of the silver disappeared without a trace. Aaron-soo looks particularly confused. He doesn't really understand the content in the document file. On the other side, a group of high-ranking people is having a meeting in the back hall of Capital Commandery. Capital Commandery Prefect Henry Chen said, "The Emperor demands that we retrieve the tax silver before we behead Zain-Su. But now there are only 2 days left. The two lords need to hurry." Connor Lee heard the words. "Is there any new findings there with Zain-Su?" Prefect helplessly, "A mere soldier just keeps shouting injustice. He doesn't even know how tax silver was lost." And Camilla Chu on the side said, "I used the Chi observation technique to see him. Zain-Su did not lie." Camilla Chu is the youngest apprentice of the chief of the Observatory Bureau. Everyone also began to worry. Prefect said, "We have investigated and interrogated Zain-Su. We have thoroughly examined his interpersonal relationships and financial situation. With the assistance of the Observatory Bureau's Chi observation technique, suspicions have been ruled out for now. However, the tax silver is missing. Zain-Su committed malpractice. Whether it's dereliction of duty or capital punishment, he can't escape." On the other hand, the matter had no effect on Camilla Chu's appetite. She was still happily munching on sugarcane. Connor Lee looked unhappy. And at this moment, a piece of sugarcane residue did not fall in the right place. Connor Lee's heart tightened. Hastily summoning Chi in his hand, he used Chi to pick up the sugarcane dregs. He used Chi to put it back where it belonged. Connor Lee at this moment felt relaxed all over. It's evident that he is a perfectionist. And at this moment, a series of footsteps could be heard approaching. A servant entered carrying a bag of steamed buns. Another person from the Observatory Bureau delivered a letter to Camilla Chu. Camilla Chu glanced at the letter. The Observatory Bureau reported that there were no sightings of Guichi within 20 miles along the way to Hanoi, and no signs of Guichi on the riverbank. The two of them felt a tightness in their hearts upon hearing this news. Prefect slapped the table and stood up. "Where can 150,000 tael silver be taken? It has to be brought ashore. It's been 3 days already. We haven't even found a trace of the other party." And Connor Lee is very calm. Could it be that we are investigating in the wrong direction? Maybe it's not what Guai did. If it's not Guai playing tricks, where did the Guai wind come from? Silver enters the river. How did it disappear out of thin air? And at this time, Aaron-Soo is getting engrossed in reading the document file. But at this moment, he discovered a crucial clue. Is this some kind of prank? If it's Guai, how can it cause water waves several zhang high and split the two banks? There are Guai in this world. The Guai clan has existed since ancient times, hunting and devouring humans. In the 100,000 mountains of the South Territory, there is the largest gathering place of the Guai clan, the nation of all Guai. 500 years ago, the Western countries, led by the Buddhist sect, declared war on the nation of all Guai in the South Territory. After fighting for 60 years, they finally wiped out the nation of all Guai. The history books refer to this battle as 60 years of killing Guai. Since then, the fortune of the Guai clan has been damaged, gradually declining, while the Buddhist sect has been soaring ever since. So Buddhism flourished. But Prefect is puzzled. What's the use of these strange bandits stealing tax silver? Although the bandits act without asking their conscience, they do as they please. Connor Lee sighed. He couldn't figure it out either. Just then, Camilla Chu spoke and said it was done by Guai. Isn't human flesh tastier? What do they need silver for? But when she finished speaking, she looked at the baozi in her hand. Her mind was full of human flesh. Just the thought of it made her feel nauseous. However, for a foodie, waste is shameful. She gobbled up the baozi one by one. In no time at all, she had demolished all the baozi in her hand. She then calmly said, "In Guai's eyes, silver may not necessarily be as tempting as a living person. Even if one wants silver to steal or rob, it would be more secure than directly robbing the tax silver in Defying capital city." Prefect pondered for a moment. It makes sense. However, it cannot be ruled out that someone may have been instructed to do so. Connerly is just wondering who would instruct Guai to steal the tax silver. What is the reason? Why does it have to be this batch of tax silver, specifically 150,000 tael? The prefect is also troubled. Perhaps the mastermind behind the scenes needs a large sum of money, but cannot acquire it recklessly. That's why they targeted the tax silver. But Connerly also pointed out another suspicious point. The route for transporting the tax silver is random, and decided temporarily by Zane Su. But Guai is able to ambush in the river in advance. There is a high possibility of having an inside man within the escort team. Then he suggested going to Yunlu Academy to find a Confucianist saint for consultation. But Camila Chu nearby was not happy. "Do you look down on our observatory bureau's Chi observation technique? I've said it before. The soldiers escorting the tax silver are all completely uninformed." Connerly dared not respond. He can't afford to offend the observatory bureau. Just the next moment, Camila Chu shifted her attention. Before sunset, she had to shake off this lousy job herself, leave Capital Commandery, and go to the palace to find the Grand Princess. She couldn't help but salivate at the thought of the gourmet food in the palace. Prefect can't do anything about it. The progress of the case is slow at the moment, and time is of the essence. Lordly might as well seek advice from Duke Wei. What do you think? Connerly heard this, and sneered coldly. Just as your civil officers have the imperial examination in the capital, we night watchmen have our own examination, given to me by Duke Wei. Prefect felt helpless. Nothing seems to work. Now, both the court and the people are watching us. And inside the prison, Aaron Su is staring blankly at the document file in his hands. "I once thought about being reborn in ancient times, copying and showing off the book of songs. I can take the opportunity to flirt with some girls. Who would have thought? Even after being reborn, I still have to face the harshness of society. If it's really the mischief of the ghost Guai, then I'll definitely be helpless. This is just a speculation from Capital Commandery. I can't be influenced by their guesses. I have to analyze it myself. Maybe I can still salvage the situation. Why would Guai steal tax silver from them? Isn't human flesh tastier for them? Even if they lack silver, there's no need to target tax silver. I heard that the female Guai in the Guai clan are all charming and graceful, with exquisite figures. I wonder if there are cat girls or dog girls among them." His thoughts drifted too far. Aaron Su decisively gave himself a slap. After all, he is a well-known upright gentleman. He is thinking about what constitutes effective reasoning. After Aaron Su gave himself a slap, he analyzed the situation with a serious expression. There are two suspicious points in this tax silver case. One is Guai Wind. Apart from soldiers, all major cultivate categories have the ability to wield the Guai Wind. Therefore, Guai Wind can only indicate the involvement of a cultivator. The suspicion on the second uncle from a soldier background is relieved, though it doesn't rule out the possibility of him colluding with others. The second thing is that it exploded. High-rank cultivators battle. It is normal for explosions to occur. However, in this case, it is not just about physical combat. The appearance of the explosion is unreasonable. In the various cultivation categories in this world, are there any professions that require the use of explosions to achieve their goals? He suddenly realized he had been led astray by his thoughts. He made the same mistake as Capital Commandery, jumping to conclusions based solely on the most obvious clues. It was indeed too hasty. You need to change your approach. If I assume that this is a carefully planned man-made event, maybe the flaws are not in the two most obvious clues, but in these various traces. Suddenly, Aaron Su's mind seemed to explode. Immediately, the idea became clear to him. He quickly knocked on the iron door and shouted loudly. Sure enough, he was soon discovered by the prison guard. The prison guard said impatiently, "What's your name?" But Su looked pleased. "I'll tell you, Prefect. I have important clues about the tax silver case." On the other side, they really couldn't think of a solution. They planned to bring the document file to the Night Watchman government office to seek Duke Wei's help. Camilla Chu kindly reminded that our Grandmaster from Defying will step in. Then the two of you won't be held accountable by your Imperial Majesty. However, losing favor in Duke Wei's eyes is more serious than being held accountable by your Imperial Majesty. Connerly remained silent. But what can one do? And at this moment, a servant came to report. According to the Prefect Lord, the prison guard said that Su, Zane Su's nephew, has an important lead on the tax silver case. The prefect was taken aback. He didn't care whether it was true or false. He decided to bring the person in for questioning first. A moment later, Su appeared with handcuffs and ankle chains. He slowly walked to the Capital Commandery government office. Su observed for a moment. The person wearing the red cloak should be the rank 4 government officer prefect. And the uncle standing beside him with a silver gong displayed on his chest should be from the Night Watchman organization. Just then, he stood there stunned, not moving. This girl is very pretty. I wonder if she is married. Then Su's gaze dropped. Suddenly he saw a flat grassland. Immediately his interest halved. So he hurriedly bowed down. "Greetings, Lord." The prefect did not waste any words either. When Su was imprisoned 3 days ago, you didn't mention having crucial information. Do you know the consequences of concealing information? Su is very cunning. Even if he is extremely anxious, he will never spill any information. But the fact that he can come here means that his plan is already half successful. Just now, Lord Su family's second son came to see me. I asked him for the document file, and then deduced the truth of the case from it. Prefect and Connerly are completely restless. Only relying on the document file? Su responded calmly. Exactly. The tax silver case is not done by Gwai, but by human intervention. When someone says something beyond your understanding, the subconscious response is to rebut, and then to search for various arguments to prove that what you said is wrong. Su said the tax silver case was not done by Gwai, but rather by humans. The prefect directly exploded in anger. You, this young lad, are simply talking nonsense. It is almost certain that Gwai took away the tax silver. Someone, come and take him away for a 200-stroke caning. Su didn't react for a moment. I just said a sentence and got 200 strokes? Is there no justice left? Servant doesn't care about you so much. I plan to press Su down when I come up. Just at this moment a voice said, "Wait a minute." It was exactly what Connerly said. He was very curious why Su dared to say such things. Su breathed a sigh of relief and said, "According to the testimony of the city gate guard, my second uncle entered the city at 6:30 a.m. The team escorting the tax silver from the first quarter arrived at Street G at 7 a.m. At that moment, a strange wind suddenly rose, causing the horses to panic and rush into the river." The prefect impatiently interrupted, saying, "We already know all this. Gwai is hiding in the river, waiting for an opportunity to steal the tax silver." Su also interrupted him. "No, Gwai wind and the explosions are just distractions. In fact, they are meant to make you overlook a fatal flaw." The prefect's heart skipped a beat. There's another flaw that they didn't notice? Su continued. My second uncle escorted 150,000 tael of tax silver. May I ask the three lords how many 150,000 pounds tael of silver weigh? All three remained silent. No one knew the answer. Su was also amazed. Isn't it uncool to ask and answer your own question? It is 9,375 pounds. Camilla Chu is puzzled. What does this indicate? Su is mentally exhausted. What does this indicate? It indicates that, little sister, You are not very smart. Aaron Su continues to ask. How far is it from the city gate to Street G? 30 kilometers. And then the two were right here with this question and answer. They passed several bustling markets along the way. For bustling markets. How is the walking speed of slow horse? Connerly just wanted to answer. But he suddenly realized a very serious problem. The timing doesn't match. Street G is 30 kilometers away from the south gate. With slow horse's speed, passing through 4 busy markets along the way, we will enter the city at 6:30 a.m. It is not possible to arrive at Street G by 7 a.m. first quarter. Connerly is shocked. But that not-so-smart little sister still doesn't understand. Tax Silver was indeed taken to Street G at 7 a.m. Many people witnessed the horses rushing into the river at that time. It can't be fake. How do you explain this? Connerly couldn't come up with an answer either, because he only knows that the timing doesn't match. Aaron Su explained that the person being escorted was not Silver at all. Prefect couldn't sit still. Isn't this nonsense? Let's not even talk about whether your second uncle and the escorting soldier have eyes. The horses rushed into the river. The silvery white Silver rolled into the water. Is this also fake? Aaron Su knows that now it's no longer convincing just by talking. He randomly drew on it. Then he handed it over to the prefect and said, Please prepare what is written on the paper according to my request. The prefect took a look, although he didn't know what Aaron Su was up to. But his first reaction was unexpected. This character is really ugly. Camila Chu took it and looked at it, thinking it was something else. It's just a vulgar piece of writing by a soldier. Everyone has seen it. Connerly naturally wants to take a look as well. The corners of the paper were all wrinkled. Just looking at it made Connerly feel uncomfortable all over. He couldn't wait to wave his little hands and straighten out the paper. In an instant, he felt that the world had become beautiful. After a long time, everything Aaron Su wanted was ready. Prefect said faintly, Everything is here. Be sure to give this official a satisfactory answer. Aaron Su, however, was not eager to take action. He said, If I assist Lord in solving this case, could I write to your Imperial Majesty to absolve my Su family of guilt? The prefect nodded. According to the law of Defying, taking the blame for one's father can be considered a merit. Naturally, the guilt will be absolved. Aaron Su no longer has any worries. He turned around and began to prepare. It is an experience for modern people to be reborn and conduct chemical experiments in ancient times. Aaron Su prepared water, salt, iron wire, raw shin paper, porcelain cup, bamboo sticks, and candles. Everything is ready. Although he is not sure if the explosive tax Silver is the one. But this is not important. What matters is he has opened up a line of thought to explain the phenomenon of tax Silver exploding into the river. And what he needs to do now is very simple. He is using the chemistry knowledge he learned in high school to extract sodium metal. The first step is to dissolve crude salt in water. The second step is to cover raw shin paper over the mouth of the cup and slowly pour in the salt water. The third step is to place the filtered salt water on a candle flame to roast it. The fourth step is to continuously stir the salt water with a bamboo stick until it is evaporated. The precipitation of sodium chloride is completed. What comes next is the most difficult. These two are fundamentally impossible to accomplish. But in this world, there is one profession that can achieve it. Then he looked at Camila Chu Lord, who is an apprentice at the Observatory Bureau, right? Aaron Su asked because besides the apprentice at the Observatory Bureau, no one else should be using this. The 8 trigrams ornament that Camila Chu is wearing, right? Camila Chu proudly said, My teacher is the chief of the Observatory Bureau. Aaron Su ignored her pride and said, Please help me melt these crystals, big sister. But Camila Chu is feeling a bit challenged. Fire manipulation is an ability possessed only by alchemists. I am just a rank 7 official geomancer. However, her mentor gave her an artifact. With a gentle wave, flames emerged. Aaron Su quickly stepped back. The flames landed right on the crystal. Aaron Su seized the opportunity and called for a stop. Then he put the iron wire in. Then called Camilla Chu to electrify it. Aaron Su sighed. This step is very difficult. Perhaps there will be many failures. Camilla Chu acted immediately, extracting thunder from the 8 trigrams. Soon, a crackling thunder struck towards the crystal. Aaron Su quickly called a halt. Then all that was left in his heart was concern. But it's okay. He is very lucky. The extraction of sodium metal was successful. Aaron Su poured it out. Several lords, please take a look. This thing is much lighter than silver. But the appearance is extremely similar. Would anyone use this thing to impersonate silver? If they were transporting this thing that day, then everything could have a reasonable explanation. Just Camilla Chu is doubtful. Are you an alchemist too? Aaron Su scratched his head awkwardly. I just have some knowledge of chemistry. And Prefect noticed the key point at this time. What's the story behind the explosion? Aaron Su is not in a hurry to explain. He picked up the sodium metal. Then he put it into the water. The water in the cup then seemed to boil like it was boiling. After a moment, the entire cup exploded. The onlookers were shocked to see this scene. How could this be possible? What kind of reborn manhwa is this? After everyone finished watching it, they dared not casually try to be reborn into ancient times at home. After Aaron Su put sodium metal into water, sodium metal exploded. This explains what happened after silver was dropped into water. Connerly pondered. So, from the beginning, we were led astray. The mastermind behind the scenes used explosions and the lure of the Gwai wind to shift the focus of the investigation. No wonder the Observatory Bureau's Chi observation technique couldn't detect the Gwai. Camilla Chu was also a little annoyed. She said from the beginning that not detecting the Gwai was not due to your disbelief. Aaron Su quickly took over the conversation, fearing they would really start arguing. After tax silver fell into the water, the soldiers only recovered over 1,000 tael of silver. If I'm not mistaken, these silvers were all laid on top to conceal the truth. Connerly then shifted his focus back to Aaron Su. This kid in front of him actually connected all the doubts. He truly is a gifted genius. Thinking of this, he planned to praise Aaron Su a bit. But then, he saw Aaron Su's wrinkled shoulder. Damn OCD. It went straight to Connerly's forehead in an instant. But he forced himself to stay calm. A hand heavily rested on Aaron Su's shoulder. With a turn, the whole world suddenly became better. However, Aaron Su got it wrong. He had been patted on the shoulder. Could it be that this lord appreciated him? And at this moment, the prefect spoke up. Since the silver was fake, where did the real silver go? Camilla Chu speculated. Tax silver was transferred out of the warehouse and passed through various hands to reach the capital city. If we want to hold someone accountable, numerous government officers will have to go to prison. The difficulty of reclaiming the silver is no less than finding a needle in a haystack. This matter has already exceeded our jurisdiction. We must report it to your Imperial Majesty. Connerly sighed. The tax silver was transported all the way to capital city with multiple transfers. If it were fake, it would have been discovered long ago. The only possibility is that it was switched recently. The prefect was startled by the statement. Recently switched? Then he rushed out in a hurry. He asked someone to prepare a sedan chair for his travel. Aaron Su saw him in a hurry and quickly caught up as well. Lord Prefect, please do not forget your promise to me. However, the prefect did not respond. Aaron Su sighed in his heart. He hoped that tax silver could be recovered before his own exile. If it was after his exile, even if it was recovered, it would not change the outcome of the Su family. Also, in case this prefect is a black-hearted worm who wants to take all the credit, then it can only be left to fate. Just at this moment, a sweet voice sounded, asking, "Why can salt turn into silver?" Then I saw Camilla Chu rummaging through the bag. Soon after, a sugar cane was taken out. Aaron Su exclaimed, "What kind of bag is this?" Camilla Chu then extended the sugar cane to Aaron Su. Here, this is for you to eat. Aaron Sue was particularly confused. Is she trying to bribe me with this? Is she testing me as a cadre? I want to challenge my weakness. However, he then said, I have seen in ancient books the alchemist science that can turn salt into silver. Camilla Chu hurriedly asked, Which ancient books? Aaron Sue felt speechless in his heart. He said that the ancient books have been destroyed. However, I still remember their contents. But I am currently in imminent danger. I really have no mood to think about ancient books now. Camilla Chu is helpless. You are quite clever. Our observatory bureau never interferes in political affairs. I also don't care how to handle you. Ultimately, your Imperial Majesty's decision is decisive. Aaron Sue said with a flattering smile. Why don't you just accept me as your disciple? With the chief of the bureau, Lord's position in the court, dealing with a person like me shouldn't be a problem. Camilla Chu wondered. You are clearly a soldier. Why do you want to become a sorcerer? Aaron Sue assertively said. Because I admire the style of the chief of the bureau lord. Camilla Chu could tell at a glance that he was lying. You are lying! But still said, First, tell me the contents of the alchemist's ancient books. Aaron Sue pondered for a moment. The content is somewhat profound. I'm afraid you may not understand it. It requires a detailed explanation in order to be firmly rooted. Camilla Chu snorted disdainfully. Looking at the whole country, the Alchemist Science Observatory Bureau and the sorcerer should be the leaders. Aaron Sue took a deep breath. Then he proceeded to recite various chemistry terms from high school. Camilla Chu felt dizzy after hearing a succession of unfamiliar terms. What on earth are all these things? Is he playing tricks on himself? Shortly after, she snatched back the sugar cane. She turned around and left. But when she reached the doorway, Camilla Chu glanced back at Aaron Sue. Then she said to him, Our observatory bureau only accepts young kids as apprentices. Aaron Sue stretched out his hand, wanted to say something, but he waited until Camilla Chu left before he said that. I am also a young kid. The elder prison guard next to him comforted Aaron Sue and said this statement. Do you not feel embarrassed? How old are you anyway? Don't you have any sense of propriety? Zane Sue is a rank 7 official green robe Imperial Blade Guard. He was beheaded due to the tax silver disappearance case. His male relatives up to 3 generations were exiled, and his female relatives were sent to the Imperial Entertain Bureau. The deadline of 5 days has passed. He knows that his end is near. Just thinking about having implicated his family. Zane Sue was loyal to the country and the monarch all his life. In the end, he ended up in such a situation. The prison guard on the side couldn't bear it anymore. After signing and stamping, you can leave. Zane Sue thought he misheard. The prison guard directly returned the official uniform to him. Zane Sue looked at his official uniform. It felt like a dream. What exactly happened? Madam on the side immediately burst out, saying, It must be our son Nico, who has been running around outside these days to take care of matters. That's why the court is finally showing favor. Zane Sue is perplexed. According to reason, even if the death penalty is exempted, it is impossible to be reinstated to one's official post, right? Zane Sue asked, puzzled. The prison guard said indifferently, The case has been solved. The tax silver has also been recovered, according to the law of Defying. If there are elder family members who have broken the law, their descendants can take the blame and make amends for them. Madam, with tears in her eyes, praised her son as someone outstanding among men, like a dragon and phoenix. Then she fiercely stared at Zane Sue and said, Back then, when I wanted him to practice martial arts, you didn't agree. You insisted on letting that brat Aaron Sue practice martial arts instead. The tone of blame is quite obvious. However, Zane Sue never intended to prevent his own son from practicing martial arts. He is simply not cut out for it. At this moment, he should be waiting for you guys at the back door. The couple couldn't help it, and suddenly spurted blood from their mouths. Madam was even more thunderstruck. Wasn't it their son who facilitated the connections and saved the whole family? How could it be that unlucky nephew? Isn't he in prison? She felt dizzy at the thought. And the back door of Capital Commandery. Su waited for a long time, but didn't see anyone come out. He was starting to get a little impatient. Su, they came out just then. Su quickly greeted them. Su saw his nephew in an instant. As a man who used to be a soldier, a warm stream surged in his heart. Tears welled up in his eyes. He strode forward and slapped his shoulder hard, almost knocking Su to the ground. "Second uncle, you are at the Chi cultivation peak, we are just one rank apart," Su said naturally, without any hesitation. However, he was quickly attracted by a figure. "I actually have such an elegant and refined sister?" Su was shocked. Lily Su is the daughter of Zane Su and Ru Li. She is Su's cousin. In the original owner of this body's memory, the memories about his sister are very vague. And because of Ru Li, he is not very friendly towards his younger cousin. However, there is an exception. Su's younger cousin Lila Su, the original owner of this body, does not like the younger cousin, but is still relatively nice to this younger cousin, since she resembles his youngest sister and doesn't take after her mother. Lila Su cheerfully runs over to Su to ask for some candy. But he just came out of the jail cell, and there is no candy at all. Lila Su felt a wave of disappointment. Su looked at this youngest sister, who didn't seem very smart. Now he was sure that she inherited her mother's genes. Ru Li stiffly turned her head away. Reluctantly she said, "Thank you, Aaron." At the right moment, a vague memory surfaced in Su's mind. He was furious when he was driven to the small courtyard next to the Su family by Aunt Su. "I swear to the heavens. I, Su, will definitely make a name for myself in the future. Don't regret it. Looking back now, it feels so embarrassing." From the perspective of a third party, Su now sees that the relationship between the original owner of this body and Aunt is not entirely the fault of this Aunt. Su spends over 100 tael of silver each year on practicing martial arts, which is equivalent to the savings of an ordinary family over 2 to 3 decades. Having to be a hospitable family, it is not surprising that Aunt harbors resentment. So Su politely said, "Aunt, don't rush to thank me. Let's talk about it again after dinner at home." Ru Li gritted her teeth in anger. Zane Su's scalp went numb. He quickly came out to make peace. "Let's go home first. Do you know what embarrassment is? Was I not born Nico Su doffing in time eternal as dark as night?" Nico Su kicked open the door. This home, where one lived for 19 years, now stands empty. It is truly desolate. He stepped over the threshold. After swaying and stumbling a few steps forward, he turned back and closed the door. He didn't want to attract official attention. Scholars mustn't bring shame upon themselves. He walked from the outer courtyard to the inner courtyard, as if he had gone through a long lifetime. He could read at 3 years old and recite poems at 5. He was already well versed in classic books at the age of 10. At 14, he entered Yunlu Academy to pursue his studies. He is an 18-year-old Imperial Examination graduate. It is not excessive to say he is exceptionally gifted. His intelligence, his extensive knowledge, molded his proud character. He has always been proud in front of his family. He is promising. He is outstanding. He is the future pillar of the Su family. He, as a 7-foot-tall man, would rather die heroically than live in humiliation. Thinking of this, Nico Su emptied the wine jug in his hand with one gulp. He smashed it on the ground with force. He, under the influence of alcohol, ground the ink, picked up the brush, and wrote down the most peak farewell poem of his life. He lived as a carefree person. He died as a rebellious ghost. Nico Su chuckled 3 times. He took out the prepared hemp rope and hung it on the ginkgo tree in the courtyard. Alas, the heavens do not act fairly. If the heavens have not given birth to me, Nico Su doffing, it is as if eternal night has fallen. Under the ginkgo tree stands the scholar on the chair. He suddenly took off his hairpin and threw it away. He shook his head vigorously. With disheveled hair, he was wild and unruly. He is carefree and unrestrained. He put his head into the noose. So he saw his family with stiff expressions and vacant eyes. I, Nico Su, live a carefree life, loving freedom. I, Nico Su, talented and extraordinary, am destined for greatness. If heaven had not given birth to me, Nico Su, the universe would be as dark as a long night. Nico Su looked at the family members, who returned unexpectedly. He felt that he was still a step too late to die. Nico Su at this moment. His soul has already died. Cultivation categories in this world are varied. Besides the soldier category, which is regarded as the most unfortunate, there are also sorcerers, Confucianists, Buddhists, Taoists, shamans, and witches. 600 years ago, the Defying kingdom was established. The first chief of the Observatory Bureau divided the various categories, with Aaron Su being a rank 9 spirit forging level in the soldier category. His second uncle is at the peak of rank 8 chief forging level, and rank 7 official soul forging level. As for Aaron Su's own cultivation level beyond that, it is unknown. On the contrary, Aaron Su from the sorcerer category of the Observatory Bureau knows quite a lot. This is because the Observatory Bureau is exclusive to the Defying dynasty's cultivation categories, and is exceptionally high profile. Among them, the inventiveness and creativity of rank 6 alchemists are integrated into thousands of households. He does not know what rank comes after that. As for the rest of the categories, Aaron Su only knows the name. He was reborn, but only understands a rare glimpse of this world. But we can't blame the original owner of this body for only knowing so little, since they grew up in the capital city. However, Aaron Su is puzzled about why there is no memory of the original owner of this body's death or loss of consciousness. As for himself, after resigning from the police station, he chose to start a business and became a diligent office worker. His future life should be able to afford a mortgage, pay for a dowry, get married, and have children. But he never expected that while celebrating at the bar with a few friends. He suffered from alcohol poisoning. He finally obtained the ticket to the middle class, only to be sent back to the feudal society immediately. There's still $600,000 in the bank account as a down payment for a house. The most tragic thing in the world is when a person is gone. Forget it. Let's just consider it as an inheritance for his parents. But at this moment, he suddenly remembered that he forgot to clear his Chrome browser history. What does it feel like to be called the eldest son? A girl in a green dress entered through the gate of the courtyard. The personal maidservant, called Jade Maiden, of Ant. Eldest son, master calls you over for dinner. Jade Maiden's eyes are bright with joy. She was sold to serve the Su family when she was 10. After the Su family encountered misfortune, the servants were dispersed. She was worried about her future livelihood. Unexpectedly, in just 5 days, the Su family turned their fortunes around. Aaron Su is extremely awkward. Don't call me the eldest son, Jade Maiden wondered. But eldest son is just eldest son. Aaron Su helplessly. Forget it. The two of them left the courtyard side by side and entered Su family house. Jade Maiden hesitated for a moment and said, "Just now, Master and Madam were arguing." "What's going on?" Aaron Su asked. It seems that Madam must know how the tax silver case was switched. As for who did it, Master couldn't answer. They started arguing back and forth. Jade Maiden whispered, "Eldest son probably knows." Aaron Su was lost in thought. On the way back from Capital Commandery, he had told his second uncle that the tax silver was not robbed but switched, and didn't say anything at the time. It turns out she had been keeping it in her heart all along. Aaron Su had just stepped over the threshold when he heard crying. Lila Su, who was as small as a bean, raised her 2 little arms behind her, arched her body forward, raised her head, and sent a piercing sound wave attack towards her mother. Second uncle calmly sipped his wine. Lily Su ate with her head down. Nico-Su hadn't recovered yet, and held her forehead with her hand, looking like she had a headache. When Jade Maiden approached, she immediately said, "Take them away! Take them away!" Aaron-Su glanced at his younger cousin girl, who was crying uncontrollably, and asked with a kind expression, "What's wrong?" Lila-Su accused, "Mom lied. She said if we could go home, she would take me to Restaurant Moon." Dad just mentioned Restaurant Moon. Restaurant Moon is a top-tier dining restaurant in Capital City that caters exclusively to high-ranking officials and dignitaries. They do not accommodate commoners or wealthy merchants. She is a silly child who can't even remember the names of her siblings. The main reason she remembers Restaurant Moon is that she had been there once before. It can be seen that this child is not stupid. She simply has talents that are misplaced. "Master Su, you can do it. You know how to lead trouble away to the east. Even your daughter has been treated as a tool." Lila-Su is the aunt's lifeline. It was just a joke back then. It has come to this. Aunt sighed. Children are all liars. Aunt is unreliable. Aaron-Su instinctively scolded her. And at this moment, a little hand tugged on Aaron-Su's clothes. "Big brother, take me with you." Lila-Su grabbed onto his pants and started climbing up. What kind of place is Restaurant Moon? The average cost per person is 1 tael of silver. Aaron-Su lifted Lila-Su up to Jade Maiden. Lila-Su cried out as she was carried down and kicked her husband. She discreetly pointed with the corner of her mouth at Aaron-Su and Zane-Su, feeling a bit embarrassed. He glanced at his son, who had always been curious. Unfortunately, Nico-Su has died. The dead cannot speak, only eat. The food tastes average. It's mainly because there's no broth. After all, everyone just got home. Aaron-Su eats as if chewing wax. He glared at the beautiful girl without good temper. "Lily, why do you always peek at your brother?" The little girl's face instantly turned red. "I just want to know. How did Big Brother solve the case from the document file? There is no perfect crime in the world, except for coincidences. Any case that is man-made can be traced back," said Aaron-Su. Nico-Su couldn't help but straighten his back and listen attentively. "First, I went through the journey of transporting tax silver. The weight of silver noticed the problem with tax silver." Aaron-Su explained his reasoning process once. The more Nico-Su listened, the brighter his eyes became. It was like receiving enlightenment from a teacher on a private cushion. His hand, tightly clenched into a fist, lay on the desk. The 16-year-old pretty younger sister lowered her head, concealing the admiration in her eyes. Zane-Su slammed the table excitedly and cursed in slang. "So that's how it is. I can't believe I didn't notice." But Aunt ruthlessly dissed her own husband. "You fool! You can't even weigh things properly. He's simply a lousy teammate." Zane-Su is a great example. Aaron-Su asked if they wore hand protection when counting the silver. Zane-Su recalled for a moment. "It seems like they did." "How did you know that?" Aaron-Su looked at him resentfully. "Why didn't it mention in the testimony?" Zane-Su shrugged indifferently. "It's just a trivial matter. Nothing worth mentioning." Speaking of which, Zane-Su grumbled, blaming someone with the surname Liu for handing me a pot of osmanthus honey back then. "You also know about my second uncle's drinking capacity. It's beyond measure. So, I drank a bit greedily, and didn't pay much attention to other things. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten." Aaron-Su is almost driven crazy by these pig teammates. If this message is on the document file, he could analyze the truth more quickly on his own. Why bother wasting so many brain cells? And at this moment, Nico-Su, who was listening on the side, pointed out incisively that it seems likely that the person referred to as someone with the surname Liu by Dad is most likely the one framing Dad. Zane-Su suddenly realized this. But suddenly, he looked at the people in the house, remembered a deeply carved past. "It's all my fault for being confused. Almost caused harm to the whole family." Zane-Su's voice was full of guilt. Aaron. Back then, I fought back-to-back with your father in the Battle of Mountains and Seas. We promised to survive together. Rise up, Huang Tingda. I survived. Your father, however, died in battle. At that time, I thought, in order to live a better life, I have to change my way of living. I can't be a cannon fodder anymore. So I sent Nico to study. Choosing to have you practice martial arts was actually a selfish decision. Ed rolled her eyes. Yeah. My heart is all with my nephew. Aaron Sue instinctively said. The meaning is understood. Second son is not a blood relative. Anne is angry and slams the table. You little rascal. What are your intentions in saying such things? Zane Sue's scalp is numb. Enough. I barely managed to save my life. Why do I have to listen to you guys arguing? Everyone bowed their heads to eat. When it comes to that battle of mountains and seas, Aaron Sue has some impression. The world is vast and boundless. The Defying dynasty is dominant in the Central Plains, claiming to be the orthodox ruler of the world. Defying builds its country with martial arts and governs with Confucianism. At the peak of its power, Defying had delegations from various countries coming to pay respects. Up to now, its national prosperity has lasted for 600 years. 20 years ago, Defying allied with various Western regions countries to confront the barbarian tribes from the north and southern barbarians from the southwest at Shanghai Pass Fortress. The total number of troops involved from all sides reached 1 million. From the start of the war to the end, it only took half a year. The Battle of Mountains and Seas is considered one of the most brutal wars in history. It is known as the Battle of Mountains and Seas. Aaron Sue's father died in that war. And at this moment, Lila Sue, who ran back because of hunger. She said a sentence that almost made Aunt drop dead on the spot. Mother, why do we have to live in a dark house? We can't eat enough every day. Everyone is speechless. Lila Sue thought of the prison cell as a dark house. Zane Sue said guiltily, It's Dad who did something wrong. Lila Sue nodded and said, Yesterday, I woke up hungry. I caught a bug and then gestured to show what it looked like. Aunt was heartbroken. Did you eat it? But Lila Sue continued, Later, I heard my mother's stomach growling. Then I stuffed food into my mother's mouth. She ate really quickly. At this moment, Aunt's mind kept echoing this sentence. Stuffed food into my mother's mouth. She ate really quickly. Aunt sprayed directly for quite a distance. Then all that was left was the sound of Lila Sue being beaten. A modern chemical like sodium metal. How can it drive ancient people crazy? In Defying capital city, the tallest building, Observatory Tower, serves as the office location for the Observatory Bureau. The yellow skirt girl climbed lightly. When passing the 7th floor, she heard a noisy commotion coming from the alchemist's room. The alchemists in white robes were arguing with flushed faces. Why did it fail again? The steps are so simple. I've said it before. It must be the wrong amount of salt. I think it's the water. Is it the fire? Just now I saw senior disciple Wade igniting the salt. It's too difficult. The spell to turn salt into silver is too difficult. I don't know how to ignite the salt. The yellow skirt girl named Camila twitched her mouth. This group of people is still refining fake silver. Tax silver case cracked. Your Imperial Majesty believes that fake silver has great power, quite extraordinary. Orders were given to the Observatory Bureau to continue refining fake silver. So the alchemists of the Observatory Bureau began their busy work. They have been working non-stop since 2 days ago until now. They have not succeeded yet. And at this moment, someone noticed that Camila Chu, who was passing by, felt a chill in her heart halfway. Then Camila Chu was carried into the refining room. Camila Junior Disciple, come and help me take a look. Is there a problem with the procedure? You are the only one who has successfully refined fake silver. Camila Chu looked at the materials on the table. She felt really tired in her heart. The process of refining by the senior disciples was flawless. She had also refined fake silver in the same way, when she was at the Su family house. But afterwards, she refined it again privately. However, she failed. Senior disciples, don't be anxious. This is the profound and obscure alchemist science passed down from ancient times. It's not something you can master just by learning once. You need to teach in a simple and clear manner in order to build a strong foundation. I will teach all senior disciples a simple saying. I hope senior disciples will remember it. A group of alchemists eagerly adopt a listening posture. Camila Chu infuses her energy into her dantian. She blurted out all the various chemical terms Aaron had mentioned to her at once. The alchemists were bewildered by what they heard. What is this incantation? I understand each word, but I'm confused when they are put together. Camila Chu chuckled awkwardly twice. She thought to herself, who knows what this thing is? Anyway, it's something that guy Aaron Su said. A White Claw senior disciple sighed. What a talent. The person who wrote this rhyme is truly a talent in alchemist science. Camila junior disciple, who taught you this rhyme? Camila Chu thought to herself. Good question. That person is named Aaron Su, a rank 7 official of the Imperial Sword Unit, and nephew of Green Robe Zane Su. You can find him if you need to. Soldier Whitecloth seems unhappy. Joke. As talented individuals from the Observatory Bureau, refining fake silver and seeking help from outsiders seem unnecessary. It would be a joke if news of a soldier being involved spread. According to different cultivation categories, several interesting chains of disdain have formed. Taoism looks down on the Buddhist sect, which in turn despises Taoism. Sorcerers look down on shamans, while witches look down on sorcerers. Then, Taoism, Buddha, sorcerer, shaman, and witch. They all look down on soldiers. As for the Confucianists, I'm sorry. Forgive my bluntness. Everyone present here is garbage. Unfortunately, it's a pity. Modern Confucianism has declined. The alchemists continued to pester Camila Chu. She forcibly squeezed her way out of the group of white-cloth senior disciples. She continued to climb the steps. In fact, she didn't understand either. She just wanted to quickly leave this place of controversy. At the top of the observatory tower. It's not a normal eave, but an octagonal platform. In line with the 8 trigrams, it is called the 8 trigrams platform. The edge of the 8 trigrams platform. An old man in a white cloth is lying on the table. He holds a wine glass in one hand and supports his head with the other hand. He seems to be drunk, but not really drunk, gazing at the capital city below. The yellow-skirt girl is observant and did not interrupt. The Supreme Master doesn't usually work on official matters, preferring to sit on the 8 trigrams platform, drinking and enjoying the scenery. This Aaron Su doesn't go to brothels. He also has a gloomy face sometimes. Inside the government office in Changle County. A mysterious figure. He scared everyone as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Someone pointed at Aaron Su and tremblingly asked, Are you a human or a ghost? Daniel Lee noticed the shadow cast on the ground by Aaron Su. He felt a slight sense of relief. He said calmly, What nonsense are you talking in the courtroom? Do ghosts have shadows? Aaron Su thought for a moment, and then responded, I might be a zombie, you know. Upon hearing this, Daniel Lee's eyes rolled back, and he almost fainted. Aaron Su quickly apologized. Just kidding. Hello, Daniel and colleagues. I've been released from prison. Daniel Lee asked. What happened? Aaron Su immediately repeated the matter again. The crowd suddenly understood. Aaron Su took out the voucher given by the Capital Commandery Government Office. Daniel Lee took it and said, End of the day. Let's all disband. Several familiar law enforcers immediately gathered around. They congratulated and offered their good wishes. You will have good fortune after surviving a great disaster. You should treat everyone to a meal. I heard that the brothel on Lin Shui Street has recruited a new batch of workers. Aaron will join us tonight. Aaron Su is so shameless. He can treat us to a drink, but I have to pay for the women he sleeps with. Outrageous. Aaron Su just tried to make excuses by saying he has no money. Suddenly, he stepped on a hard lump on the ground. He looked down and, surprisingly, it was a fragment of silver. And at that moment, Daniel Lee came back panting heavily. After catching his breath a bit, he said, "Magistrate Master Wong County wants us to go to the inner hall." Wong thought to himself, "Bad luck." However, he still followed Daniel Lee. Aaron Su took the opportunity to quickly pick up the silver pieces. Aaron Su asked with confusion, "Government officer leader's face doesn't look good. What happened?" The government officer sighed. "You've been in prison for a few days, and there was a murder case on Street K. A wealthy merchant has died. County Magistrate Master is furious. He scolds law enforcer Wong every day." Aaron Su is puzzled. Is it really necessary for County Magistrate Master to be furious just because a merchant died? The government officer said that the merchant had a connection with a lord from the Imperial Censor. It seems like they exerted pressure. Besides, this year is the year of the metal rat. Aaron Su realized that it is the Imperial Examination in the capital. The Imperial Examination in the capital is the assessment system for Defying government officers. It is conducted once every 3 years. Government officers who fail the examination will be demoted or even dismissed from their positions. It's about one's future prospects. Now it's easier to understand. The other party also has a relationship with the Imperial Censor. If he gets impeached, basically it can be considered the end of his future. And at this moment, the door was kicked open by someone. Then law enforcer Wong could be seen grumbling. "The person is dead, and the thief has fled. Where can we find them?" The nearby government officer hurriedly went up to comfort, but only saw law enforcer Wong sighing repeatedly. "It's really unlucky today. Not only did I get scolded, but also lost 1 chin silver." Upon hearing this, Aaron Su sneaked to the side and chuckled. "So, it was you who lost the money." But at this moment, the government officer leaned forward and softly said, "Leader, how about taking a break?" Although the voice was low, Aaron Su still heard it clearly. Taking a break means finding a scapegoat. Law enforcer Wong thought this was not a bad idea. So he ordered, "Go to the slums in City West now. Pick a few old troublemakers who often engage in criminal activities. They should be older." But at this moment, Aaron Su grabbed the shoulder of the government officer. He said while giving a toss backwards, "Can't let the murderer off lightly." The others, seeing this, quickly approached and held onto Aaron Su, saying, "Aaron, I know your family just encountered a major disaster. It's understandable that you might be sensitive to these matters. But the leader is being scolded by the country master every day. It's unavoidable." But Aaron Su completely ignored them. Law enforcer Wong suddenly slammed the table and stood up. He stared at Aaron and said, "Then you tell me how to investigate." Aaron Su suddenly shook off the hand grabbing his shoulder. He struck a very handsome pose and said, "Give me the document file." Aaron Su took the document file. He then began his reasoning. The deceased is Richard Zhang, 51 years old this year. He lived on Street K and was wealthy. His first wife passed away. He remarried a married woman who is 20 years younger than him. Richard Zhang had a son from his late wife, Ryan Zhang, who has no children of his own. There is a 20-year age gap between him and his second wife. Aaron Su complained silently in his heart. This is an example of an old ox eating young grass. 4 days ago, Richard Zhang went to the countryside to collect rent. He rushed back home around 3 a.m. His sleeping wife suddenly heard a scream. When she went out to check, Richard Zhang was found dead in the yard. His wife also saw a dark figure jumping over the wall and leaving. Aaron Su asked, "Did the night patrolling soldier ask about it?" The government officer on the side said, "There were no suspicious individuals in the vicinity that night." Capital City has 3 city walls. Although there are night patrol soldiers in the outer city, there is no curfew. The city gates remain open all night for all 12 hours. Merchants just need to make advance preparations, and with proper credentials, they can move freely in and out. Su asked again, how much silver was lost? The government officer was also speechless. Nothing was lost. The deceased had just collected rent. He collected tax silver, bronze coins, and some grain. How could a thief escape with a large box of silver coins after committing murder? Su immediately realized that something was wrong. If I were a thief and had left traces, I would definitely choose to steal the next day, not today. Law Enforcer Wong took a sip of tea and said, so may I ask, who is the murderer according to Law Enforcer Su? And where is the murderer? Su hurriedly chuckled. Don't be so anxious. I saw it in the document file. Is there a footprint left on the outer wall of Zhang's house? You deduce from this. The thief escaped by climbing over the wall. What the little woman said was true. Law Enforcer Wong still maintains an indifferent attitude. What's the problem with that? Su asks why footprints were left behind. Law Enforcer Wong is a little impatient. Because there is a flower bed by the wall. Thieves have to pass by when climbing over the wall. So there will be footprints on the outer wall. So why are there no footprints entering the yard on the document file? Law Enforcer Wong was stunned. The government officer beside him stepped forward to explain. It's possible that the thief noticed this detail when entering, which is why there were no traces left. However, in their haste to escape after the murder, they left footprints in a rush. Su closed his eyes. This is the first suspicious point. If the thief could leap over the garden wall from the outside without leaving footprints, demonstrating such agility. So when he escaped, there was no need for him to step on the wall for leverage at all. Secondly, why was the victim killed by a blunt weapon striking the back of the head? The perpetrator is engaging in such nefarious activities. Wouldn't it be more efficient to use a knife or sword to kill someone? Law Enforcer Wong stands up in anger. The blunt instrument struck the back of the head. One blow, one kill. It was indeed a premeditated murder. But he didn't understand why it was done with a blunt instrument instead of a sharp one. Su's words at this point woke him up. Unless the murderer didn't have a handy weapon at that time. The last point, which is also something I am particularly concerned about. When the deceased's family brought him to the county government office for questioning, Richard's second queen fainted suddenly due to kneeling for a long time. After being diagnosed by the doctor, it was discovered that she was pregnant. The government officers on the side heard this and immediately sighed in succession, feeling deep sympathy and sorrow. Su is a little annoyed. Can you please stop interrupting? Su coughed twice to interrupt them. Richard's second princess was 20 years younger than the deceased. She has been married to the deceased for nearly 10 years. Why did she suddenly get pregnant at this time? Law Enforcer Wong was shocked at the words. Is there another explanation behind this? Su continued. Perhaps the child was not the deceased's at all. Law Enforcer Wong's breathing suddenly became heavier. Explain more clearly. Su took a sip of tea to moisten his throat. He said maybe this is not a burglary case, but a case of adultery and murder. Richard's second queen cheated on her husband with another man. The lover is either a man from outside or the deceased's son. The two of them took advantage of the deceased being out collecting rent to have a secret affair. Who would have expected the deceased to return early and catch them in the act? Both sides got into a conflict. So the adulterer, in a fit of anger, grabbed a vase or some other blunt object and killed the deceased. Richard's second consort and the adulterer hastily cleaned up the scene and dragged the deceased to the courtyard. They disguised themselves as thieves to break into the house for theft. Since the adulterer was planning to have a secret rendezvous, he must have scouted the location in advance. He had figured out the routine of the night patrols, so he managed to avoid being seen by the soldiers of the Imperial Blade Guard. If the thief is truly after wealth, he would never act on that particular night. Instead, he would wait for the deceased to exchange the rent money for silver notes, which he could easily slip into his pocket and walk away with. The excuse given by Richard's second queen happened to be the same timing when the rent was borrowed. She is steering your thoughts towards seeking wealth. The law enforcers in the room were stunned. Can the culprit be determined just by looking at the document file? Aaron is not joking around. Don't talk nonsense. Law enforcer Wong is still puzzled. Why do you think the adulterer could be the son of the deceased? Aaron Su took a leisurely sip of tea. Then he continued speaking. I suspect his reasons are twofold. The son of the deceased, Ryan Zhang, stated in his testimony that he was in the study looking at accounts that night. Richard's second consort was awakened by a loud scream, indicating a significant disturbance, yet he, an awake person nearby, did not hear any noise. Does that make sense? Second point. If no trace is left by the thief, who allegedly entered the flower garden, can be found, then this so-called thief is very likely non-existent. Based on this inference, the suspicion on the son of the deceased is quite high. Law enforcer Wong asked. So, those footprints on the wall are highly likely intentionally left to confuse us. Aaron Su nodded and said, We can just compare the boots of the deceased son directly to find out. Law enforcer Wong said, Even a fool knows not to leave behind their own footprints. Aaron Su decisively took a rainbow fart. The leader is indeed the best detective in Defying. Law enforcer Wong then went to explain the details of the case to Country Magistrate Zhu. But he took all the credit for solving the case to himself. Country Magistrate Zhu also responded bluntly upon hearing this. Do you think I don't know your level? You do nothing usually. You are very shrewd at taking credit, but inept at doing real work. Law enforcer Wong was so scared that he broke into a cold sweat. He dared not take credit anymore and directly confessed everything. Aaron Su is the one who solved the case. After a long time, the government office rose the court again. The deceased's widow and the deceased son were once again brought up and pressured. Country Magistrate Zhu angrily slammed the table, his voice loud and clear as he said, How did you two kill Richard Zhang? Come clean with the truth. Ryan Zhang cried out for being wronged. Lord, why speak like this? How could I have killed my own father? Country Magistrate Zhu stared at them. Are you trying to play dumb with me? Country Magistrate Zhu cleared his throat and said, At the time of the incident, where were you, Ryan Zhang? I was in the study. Why aren't you in bed with your wife? I am reviewing the accounts. Do you have any witnesses? In the middle of the night, where would witnesses come from? Country Magistrate Zhu continued to ask about Richard's second queen. Country Magistrate Zhu asked you, You have been married to Richard Zhang for 10 years without any offspring. Why do you now have a pregnancy? Did you and your stepson conspire to murder your husband? The second consort of Richard collapsed to the ground and cried out for injustice. My health has not been good. I have been managing it every day in recent years. It was not easy to conceive my husband's child. How could Lord accuse me of murdering my husband based on this? Aaron Su was also speechless as he watched from the side. County Magistrate Zhu, how could you possibly uncover the truth with your way of handling the case? County Magistrate Zhu slammed the table in shock. You said you saw a dark figure escaping over the wall. Then why did the law enforcer search the flower bed under the wall this time? No footprints were found. There were no traces of trampled flowers or grass. Richard's second princess remained silent. Ryan Zhang on the side said, County Magistrate Lord Thief, how did you sneak into the residence? How did my mother know? You county government office cannot find out. You cannot impose blame on my mother, and I. Aaron Su below the hall spit out a mouthful of old blood from 82 after hearing it all. What mother and son? Don't insult these two words, okay? Country Magistrate Zhu also got angry. He picked up the token and was about to punish the two of them. Ryan Zhang is not afraid either. Lord is trying to force a confession, right? Isn't my uncle who works in the Department of Rights and serves as an imperial censor afraid of being impeached? Country Magistrate Zhu's face suddenly fell. What kind of people are imperial censors? They are the officials who claim to be clean and upright. They are like crazed dogs, catching and biting whoever they target. They impeach anyone they dislike by writing reports against them. Country Magistrate Zhu was also angered by this. How dare a peasant threaten the official? Give him 20 strokes as punishment. But he is clever. Even if Ryan Zhang confesses after being beaten, the case is still likely to be overturned by the relatives of the imperial censor. At that time, Country Magistrate Zhu may end up being labeled as extracting a confession by torture. And at this moment, Aaron Su tapped on the shoulder of a thin man behind him. Help me pass a message to Country Magistrate Zhu. How did Aaron Su come over here? Please help me tell Country Magistrate Zhu to adjourn the court temporarily. I have a good solution. After a long time, Richard's second princess was taken to a separate room and locked up. Just as she was breathing nervously, the door of the room was opened by someone. Aaron Su came in with a teapot. He said not to be nervous. Just casual chat. You can call me Aaron. Richard's second princess consort seemed a little confused. Aaron Su poured her a cup of tea. Richard Zhang, who is dressed in gold and silver, treats you very well, right? Actually, I think so. At your age, not being able to conceive for so many years is mostly Richard Zhang's issue. Richard's second princess looked aggrieved. It's all my fault. It's my belly's fault for not behaving. It took so many years to conceive. Aaron Su continued. Does Richard Zhang usually go to the tea house? He naturally goes often. Since ancient times, lords and officers have all frequented tea houses. Where would there be someone who doesn't go to a tea house? Aaron Su is truly helpless with Richard's second princess being so difficult to deal with. Richard Zhang, in his 50s, still frequently goes to tea houses. He must be feeling empty. I can almost confirm that the child in your belly is not his. Aaron Su said. I suddenly understand you very well. Richard Zhang is over 50 years old, still hanging out at the tea house and neglecting you. It is understandable for you to have an affair, but it is wrong for you to kill. Richard's second concubine accidentally dropped the teacup from her hand. I don't know what you are talking about. I have seen that Ryan Zhang, from document file, is a full 7 years younger than you. What do you mean by that? You don't even mind that he is younger. Richard's second queen pretended to look clueless. Aaron Su continued. Richard's second queen, you are living alone in an empty room. The loneliness is unbearable. And so, you seduced your stepson into committing a shameless and immoral act. It happened that night. While Richard Zhang was away collecting rent in the countryside, you engaged in an affair with your stepson, who knew that Richard Zhang returned earlier than expected and caught the two of you in the act of your illicit affair. The father and son started fighting. You smashed Richard Zhang to death from behind with a flower vase. In order to cover up the crime, you dragged Richard Zhang's body into the courtyard. It was disguised as a theft and murder by a thief. Ryan Zhang deliberately left footprints on the wall to corroborate your statements. Queen Richard II suddenly slammed the table and stood up. I didn't do it. I am innocent. Aaron Su looked at her trembling hands. He knew that his guess was mostly correct. Aren't you curious why I know so clearly? Richard's second wife was surprised. Has Ryan Zhang already confessed? This can't be possible. Aaron Su is pressing his advantage. Do you think your adulterous husband would never admit guilt? You think you've handled it perfectly. In fact, you are full of loopholes. Ryan Zhang only left footprints on the wall, but not inside the house. If the thief has excellent body skills, they will not leave footprints when escaping. Secondly, Richard Zhang died from blunt force, not a sharp weapon. According to the law of Defying, anyone who enters a house at night without reason will be beaten with a stick 80 times, and the homeowner is allowed to kill the intruder on the spot. Which thief who breaks into a house would not bring a weapon? However, Richard Zhang died from being struck by a blunt object. Reason number 3. Why were you all identified as the ones who killed Richard Zhang instead of the thief? It's because you made a mistake. The body of Richard Zhang has his feet facing towards the room, head facing outwards. The fatal wound is in the back of his head. This indicates that the killer approached him from behind and struck him with a blunt object. If a thief sees the owner coming back, they would either stay still or retreat. Would they intentionally attack and kill someone and then leave empty-handed? That's not possible. Richard's second wife tightly held his hand. At this moment, she also completely let go. She never expected it. There are so many loopholes. Aaron-Soo continued. You have nothing to say, right? Ryan Zhang has nothing to say either. So he sold you out. He also said. It is you who, shamelessly and without integrity, seduced him. He did not want to continue getting involved with you, but you used the child in your belly to threaten him. He said it was also you that night who took advantage of the chaos and killed Richard Zhang. Ryan Zhang knows too many flaws. He is inescapable. He confessed to County Magistrate Master. He was willing to offer 500 tael of silver to smooth things over, letting you take the blame for murdering your husband alone. You probably know best who Ryan Zhang is. Richard's second princess couldn't help but feel a little flustered. Aaron-Soo sighed in his heart. I don't know who Ryan Zhang is. I just believe. This kind of irrelevant love. Only relationships based on desire can be so unreliable. And Ryan Zhang is a rich kid. Comes from a wealthy family and is young. He has a bright future ahead of him. Why would he sacrifice himself for a woman? Aaron-Soo continued. County Magistrate Master is known for his integrity and justice. He does not blindly believe Ryan Zhang's one-sided words. I was ordered to come and interrogate you. If you confess, County Magistrate Master promises to spare you from the death penalty. Richard's second queen seemed to see a life-saving straw. She confessed without hesitation. Aaron-Soo actually deceived her. According to the law of Defying, women who commit adultery or conspire to murder their husbands shall be put to death by dismemberment. The adulterous men shall be beheaded as a public example. It is impossible to escape the death sentence. Ryan Zhang, who saw the testimony of Richard's second queen, was caught off guard. He could no longer argue cunningly and confessed in despair. Country Magistrate Zhu looked at the two testimonies in his hand and loudly cursed, calling it a mess. However, he did not forget to praise Aaron-Soo. Aaron-Soo also quickly declined, and at the same time gave a flattering compliment. It's all thanks to Lord's wise teachings. I have been influenced by it, and learned a few tricks. Law Enforcer Wong, standing on the side, looks a bit confused. This is not right. When this kid first arrived, he had a simple and stubborn personality. He used to just bury his head in work. He was a real fool. How did he suddenly become so sharp at solving cases? What is tea house culture? Today Aaron will give you all a little inside information. Brothel is a traditional business, targeting the common people. Tea house is a higher-tier brothel. The clientele consists of wealthy businessmen and government officials. These two are equivalent to modern nightclubs. Talking about the tea house culture in Defying, it is impossible to avoid mentioning the Imperial Entertainment Bureau. The beauties in the Imperial Entertainment Bureau are all stunning. Another prominent feature is that they are all family members of officers who have committed crimes. Aaron-Soo helped Wong solve the case. Delighted, Wong wanted to take Aaron-Soo to a brothel. The colleagues around Aaron-Soo watched and thought that the chick was about to grow up. Unfortunately, Wong had no intention of treating. They decided to split the bill. Aaron-Soo immediately lost interest. Furthermore, he suffered a severe injury. Aaron-Soo will never be able to cultivate chi cultivation in his lifetime. So he put on a serious expression and said, I am not that kind of person. Just that no one paid any attention to him. Wong continued speaking. If Freya, the courtesan from the Imperial Entertainment Bureau, hadn't already been taken that night, something might have happened between us. Aaron-Soo suddenly became interested. How much silver did it cost that night? Wong held out 3 fingers. 30 tael. Aaron-Soo snatched the peanuts from his colleague's side. He reached out to Wong and said, Leader, don't just drink all the time. If you eat some food, You wouldn't get so drunk. Aaron Su thought to himself. What a joke. With 30 tael, I could buy several young mistresses. We can do anything at home. I must be out of my mind to go to the Imperial Entertainment Bureau to sleep with a courtesan. Not long after, Aaron Su went home alone. The first thing he did when he got home was to write in his diary. Today is the 18th of October in the year of the metal rat. Second uncle is right. I need to change my way of living. This society is like dog shit. Being too prominent may not be a good thing. In ancient times, many high-ranking officials were ruined. What kind of person can live a fulfilling life? I researched on it. It's the middle class, living more comfortably than ordinary people, yet not involved in high-level struggles. That's the best. Also, today I found 1 chin silver at the market. October 19th. The weather is cloudy. I must have money. In this world, more reliable than silver is gold, although merchants have no status. It can be said that with gains comes losses. I am planning to resign in a few days. I will no longer work as a law enforcer at the government office. I only earn 2 taels of silver per month. When can I go to the Imperial Entertainment Bureau to sleep with a courtesan? October 20th. The weather is cloudy. I won't rush to resign first. I'll get the business going before deciding. Today I saw a colleague extorting money from merchants using badges. I don't feel very comfortable about it. But I know this is the norm in society. But I can't change anything. Furthermore, I found 1 chin silver at the government office today. On October 21st. The weather is clear. Today, law enforcer Wong took me to a brothel to have fun. My impression of the brothel has changed. It is a place to listen to music, watch performances, and sleep. I am extremely disheartened. I still cannot lose my virginity in spirit forging. I picked up a tael silver in the brothel. Am I starting to get lucky recently? October 22nd. Listening to music at the brothel. October 23rd. Listening to music at the brothel. October 24th. Listening to music at the brothel. Wong asked me why I was so happy. Because I enjoy freeloading. October 27th. Listening to music at the brothel. Today I didn't pick up any money, so I had to pay for silver myself. A smoky and murky place. I will never come here again. October 28th. There is gunpowder in this world. There is also flintlock gun soap now. The effect is surprisingly good. In this way, my soap plan cannot be implemented. By the way, I can burn glass. These ancient people must have never seen this before. October 29th. I didn't expect they also have glass here. I need to find another way out. Today I found my second uncle's private money at home. 1 chin silver. October 30th. Brothel listening to music. October 31st. Today I discovered another money-making plan. That is to improve paper. As long as I can produce better paper, I can make a fortune. Eat the best food. I think. What is the process of making paper? But I found that I don't understand anything. Today I found 1 chin silver at the market. November 3rd. I spent all my savings these days. Borrowed money from second uncle. Second uncle is a poor guy and has no money. After Nikosu found out, he first expressed his disdain. Then he mocked me. In the end, he gave me 5 tael of silver. Nikosu was not meant to be born in the sky. Doffing is eternal like a long night. I reciprocate in kind. Nikosu blushed and left in a huff. In addition to being a bit sharp-tongued and sundra, my younger cousin is actually not bad. Second son. If we were not sworn brothers, I would appoint you as the female lead. On November 5th, today I went to the tea house with the law enforcers from the government office to slack off. It was the first time I heard Mr. Ping Shu telling a story. I suddenly thought, if I were to write future martial arts novels based on the 4 great classical novels, I could make money lying down. I am quite clever indeed. Today I found another 1 chin silver coin, so I have money for visiting the brothel tomorrow. November 7th. I am too naive. A novel consists of tens of thousands to millions of words. How could I write it with a brush? Even though I can make charcoal pens. But I can't remember the content of novels. It's been 10 days since Reborn. Still nothing accomplished. I'm about to crack. This man has been reborn for 10 days, but has accomplished nothing. At this moment, he truly realizes the shortcomings of modern education. He clearly knows a little about everything, but is limited to a half-understood state, unable to turn the knowledge he has learned into silver. But what's worse for him now is not this. He has discovered the world he is currently in. Corrupt officials are rampant. Even small abuses of power are praised as good governance. Honest officials are even rarer than virgins in a brothel. November 9th, cloudy. Why hasn't Miss Camila from the Observatory Bureau come to see me? Doesn't she want to learn the legendary alchemist's secret technique? That girl is not less attractive than Miss Lily. She has a cute and delicate oval face. With my superb skills in charming girls, I might be able to win her over. I also want to find love in this indifferent society. She come find me. I don't want to struggle anymore. November 10th. I am still unwilling to accept the failure of the novel plan. So I explained the general plot of Liang Shanbua and Zhu Yingtai to my two younger sisters. They listened. Lily's eyes turned red, but Lila didn't cry. I punched her. She cried. I think this is something she should be able to endure at her age. November 11th. Today, I had a drink with Daniel Lee. We were slightly drunk. He mentioned that the warden of the North's wife, Elizabeth, is the most beautiful woman in the court. I asked him how beautiful she really is, but he couldn't describe it because Daniel Lee also heard it from the county magistrate master. After work in the evening, I quietly asked my second uncle. His expression was very strange. He tried his best to describe Elizabeth's beauty with his limited vocabulary. I extracted the core element. Big boobs. This made me slightly interested and curious about the princess. November 12th, up to now. No progress. I have embarrassed my country. I have embarrassed Reborner. November 13th. This is my first month in this world. Salary has been issued. I plan to work hard. Business matters can come slowly. November 14th. Listening to music at the brothel. In the courtyard, Aaron Su stood under the eaves and casually threw a prismatic hidden weapon. He didn't bother to aim seriously at all. He hit the bullseye of a stake 20 paces away with precision. This is not about how skilled Aaron Su is at throwing hidden weapons. It's just that he got lucky. For a whole month, he picked up a total of 1 or 2 taels of silver, which is equivalent to half a month's salary. This amount of money is enough for an average family of 3 to live frugally for 3 months. But the strangest thing is, every time he only picks up 1 cheen of silver. This cannot be described as luck. No need to ask. Even you in front of the screen know that there is something strange about this. Aaron Su tested, asking, "System Daddy, come out. Stop playing hide and seek with me." The system ignored him. In the past month, he has made numerous attempts trying to wake up system. The fact is, he was told that there is no system to begin with. I can't believe that someone like me, who has never won a single prize buying lottery tickets with $5 since childhood, could one day pick up money in a brothel. But people with good luck have short lifespans. One thing is certain, the original owner of this body definitely did not have extraordinary luck. If he had good luck, then Aunt wouldn't have despised him. She would have treated him like an ancestor and worshipped him. The whole family no longer strives. They rely on him to make a living by picking up money. This kind of uncertain gifts. It makes people feel uneasy inexplicably. Aaron Su's eyes were deep with concern. He sighed. "We can only take it step by step." The small courtyard where Aaron Su lives. Originally, it was inhabited by an old steward of the Su family, located just a wall away from the main Su family mansion. After the old steward passed away, the courtyard was left unused. Later, the original owner of this body had a falling out with Aunt. He moved here in anger. Today is a holiday. Aaron Su leaped over a 10-foot wall. He went to his second uncle's house for breakfast, mainly to save money. Isn't it more enjoyable to go to the brothel and listen to music with that money? In the hall, the family is happily enjoying breakfast. But suddenly, Aunt saw Aaron Su come in. Her beautiful mood just vanished suddenly. Aaron Su pretended not to see. He looked at his own breakfast. The soldiers in the spirit forging realm have much bigger appetites than ordinary people. These breakfasts can only fill him up halfway. Aaron Su glanced at Lila Su and greeted her with a friendly smile. Can you give the big brother a pork bun? Lila Su immediately opened her arms. She protected the food like a mother hen protecting her chicks. She sternly said no. Don't be in a hurry. Big brother won't let you lose out. Aaron Su picked up a meat bun and put it on her plate. Pointing at 4 meat buns, he asked, I'm putting my meat bun here. So, do we all have a share in these 4 meat buns? Lila Su pecked at her head. Aaron Su continued to tease her. So, should we divide them equally? Lila Su ran her own CPU at full power and thought for a while. Then she nodded decisively. Aaron Su's scheme succeeded. He took advantage of the situation and gave you 2 buns. Big brother gave you 2 buns. Then big brother gave you half a fried dough stick. Did you make a profit? Anne shook her head directly. How could I have such a stupid daughter like you? It makes me so mad. And at this moment, Nico Su walked over with a jogging pace. Su family's second son Nico Su became famous for failing to hang himself and dying a social death. He reached the peak of his life because of a sentence. Lord, I have no home. Nico Su follows the path of cultivating Confucianist principles. Yunlu Academy was founded by the first apprentice of a Confucianist saint. It has a history of 1200 years. It is a sacred place sought after by scholars around the world. The transcendent status of Yunlu Academy is not only because its founder was a disciple of a Confucianist saint, but more importantly, it is the only existing academy where one can study Confucianism. Nico Su's entrance level belongs to the 9th rank in the Confucianist category. He can improve his memory and enhance his learning ability. However, he still lacks any combat power. In the past few days, he has been fruitless in his seclusion for poetry. Now he has become this soulless and puppet-like figure. He excels in strategy. Poetry is his weakness. Ant feels extremely distressed. Why bother with poetry when everything is fine? Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. Don't pay attention to the gossip of others. Aaron Su suddenly asked, Nico, when will you be able to break through from entrance level to rank 8 nurturing level? Nico Su shook his head regretfully. He currently has no clue. The head of the academy said he needs to have self-enlightenment. Aaron Su said, You can refer to the entrance level. How was entrance level cultivated? Nico Su recalled. Reciting the classic saint texts backwards fluently is the way to achieve entrance level. The former requires a lot of time for memorization, while the latter relies on a certain level of comprehension. Aaron Su was speechless. This point is similar to the spirit forging in the soldier category. Both require long-term tempering and forging of the body and spirit. Aaron Su asked if in nurturing, it also requires tempering the body and spirit. Nico Su considered that at the nurturing level, a Confucianist's fearless heart can convince others with every word and action. I am trying to infer the method of cultivation from the abilities demonstrated at the nurturing level. Are there any successful people? Nico Su fell silent. He was getting a little annoyed with this big brother now. But Aaron Su still had a curious look on his face as he eagerly awaited the answer. Nico Su pretended not to see. He turned to his mother and said, An elder from the academy has taken an official position in the government. He will embark on a long journey to State Qin. The students of the academy will bid him farewell tomorrow. Speaking of this, Nico Su frowned. I haven't written the farewell poem yet. Lily Su said softly, Brother lacks poetic talent. He glared at her displeased. Your second brother is talented. in the field of poetry and literature. It was just that he didn't pay much attention to it before. Zainsu propped his cheek and said, "Just write a few lines casually. I think the poem you recited that day when you left had a strong spirit." Nikosu cleared his throat twice. He awkwardly changed the topic. The senior is a renowned great Confucian scholar who excels in poetry. Those bidding him farewell are all talented students in poetry. In addition to their respect for the elder, they also have the idea of expanding their network. If they can gain the appreciation of that senior, there will be many benefits. Nikosu is proud and lofty in spirit. He always treats friendships with others indifferently. He often mentions the principle of being impartial towards friends. After experiencing this crisis, he finally realized the benefits of expanding his interpersonal relationships. Aaron Su is very pleased as the eldest brother. Zain Su's untimely words. Your grandfather, like you, only knows how to write articles and lacks any talent for poetry. And is not convinced. What do you mean by this? Is it my father's fault? Nico's success in the imperial examination graduate was all thanks to Family Lee because he followed me. Look at Lila who followed you. She still hasn't been enlightened. Zain Su was speechless. Aaron Su is not convinced. According to you, are you saying that our Su family genes are dumb? And instinctively replied, if you had the potential to study in the beginning, you wouldn't have ended up practicing martial arts with such crooked handwriting. Aaron Su pondered. Regardless of Ant's bad temper towards Nico Su, he was thinking about taking the initiative to socialize. The identity of that academy elder should be quite high. Nico's contacts are my contacts. My contacts are still my contacts. I have to help him. Soon, he had an idea in mind. He locked on to a poem. Writing poetry, right? Let Ant know this time. Everyone in my Su family is talented. Second uncle is feeling a bit awkward. Aaron, let's not meddle in the matters of scholars. Aaron Su ignored it. He said calmly, 8,000 miles of yellow clouds dim the setting sun. Everyone was shocked. North winds drive wild geese as snowflakes start to run. Nico Su was stunned for a moment. A vivid image suddenly appeared in his mind. Do not worry, the road ahead holds no kindred souls. Across the world, who wouldn't know your lofty goals? Nico Su dropped the chopsticks in his excited hands. He murmured to himself, unable to extricate himself from deep immersion into the artistic conception. Do not worry, the road ahead holds no kindred souls. Across the world, who wouldn't know your lofty goals? Big Brother can actually produce such a masterpiece. I didn't expect that even I, Nico Su, would show off in front of others. Although I borrowed the limelight from my brother. Although I only have half a poem, it seems to be enough. Capital City is located outside the city of Nyeonyang Pavilion. A group of students bid farewell to their teacher. In addition to the students, two important people also came. Grandmaster Miles Lee once claimed to be the #1 in the world of chess. 5 years ago, he played 3 rounds with Duke Wei and lost each one. He was so ashamed and angry that he angrily threw the chessboard. Since then, he has never played chess again. Military strategist Simon Zhang's early work, The 6 Principles of War Strategy, is still a must-read publication for military officers and generals in Defying to this day. He is the only military strategist in Defying who can be compared to Duke Wei. Gavin Yang, who topped the imperial examination, left the officialdom the following year. He returned to Yunlu Academy to pursue scholarship. Today, 22 years later, he has become a world-renowned great Confucian scholar. He is now heading to State Qin to serve as the mayor. All 3 of them are from Yunlu Academy. Yunlu Academy and Imperial Academy have a history of grievances. Yunlu Academy, founded by Confucian Saint First Apprentice, claimed to be the orthodox Confucianist school. But 200 years ago, they were despised by the emperor of that time due to the fighting over the national religion incident. And at this very moment. But 200 years ago, because of the fighting over the national religion event, they were completely despised by the emperor at that time. And at this time, A teacher from Yunlu Academy took this opportunity to establish himself as a separate entity. To please the emperor at that time with the concept of upholding moral order, suppressing personal desires. With the support of the emperor, he established the Imperial Academy, and thus became a great teacher of his time. Subsequently, the Imperial Academy replaced Yunlu Academy as the main institution for training the royal government officers. The orthodox Confucianism dispute consequently continued for 200 years. Gavin Yang went to State Qin to expand the territory for Yunlu Academy and establish a foundation in the government. However, if he wishes to revive the past glory of the academy, he will have to rely on the young students. When it comes to this, Milesley stood up and looked towards the students. Is there anyone willing to compose a poem to bid farewell to Gavin Yang? Gavin Yang also generously took out his own jade pendant as a gift for the winner of this competition. The students were eager to give it a try one after another. An hour has passed. 3 great Confucian scholars felt they needed to clean their ears because they heard something too bad. Ever since the Imperial Academy reannotated the classics for the Holy Scripture, students all over the world can only be confined to the classics, buried in the wording. Articles, poetry, and lyrics have lost their spirituality. This is also the reason for the decline of Confucianism in modern times. The original Confucianism once stood invincible in various categories. However, Confucianism has now deteriorated significantly. Gavin Yang is somewhat disappointed but is still willing to see if there are other scholars who can produce good poetry. And at this moment, an arrogant voice sounded. "Teacher, I have a poem." Everyone is a little confused about the situation. Even Simon Zhang popped his head out because he recognized it was his own student, Nico Su's voice. Student Nico has a poem for Gavin Yang's farewell. He has been intentionally silent until now. He is modest and humble. He doesn't want to embarrass his classmates by showing off his great poems too early. He definitely doesn't want to steal the limelight. Nico Su is my student. He excels in military strategy and policy analysis. He is a talent worth nurturing. He silently added a sentence in his heart after speaking. But he just can't write poetry. Nico Su looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. He took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. 1,000-mile yellow clouds darken the day. The north wind drives wild geese as snowflakes sway. These 2 lines of poetry do have a bit of charm. His appearance in this office seems to be highly favored and granted authority by the royal government. However, the group of forces from the Imperial Academy, where he originated, will not stand by and watch him advance unimpeded. They will not allow him to establish a foundation for Yunlu Academy in the officialdom. His journey to State Qin this time is actually uncertain and full of challenges. Suddenly, Nico Su opened his arms. His handsome face is bathed in the warm sunlight, exuding a flawless and delicate beauty reminiscent of jade. He raised his arm and looked directly at Gavin Yang as he firmly delivered the last 2 sentences. Do not be worried that no friend knows your way. For in this world, who would not know your name? The crowd raised goosebumps all over. The 3 great Confucian scholars were all shocked at the moment. They quickly asked for the latter part of the poem. But for a long time, none of them saw Nico Su speak. This poem has only half a stanza. The scholars present immediately exploded. They found it hard to accept such words. How can one write only half a poem? Is this still a person? Gavin Yang calmed his emotions with a profound smile. No harm, no harm. A half poem is already amazing to the point of being otherworldly. Although it is only a half quatrain of a 7-character poem, Defying's poetry skills are now weakened. Once this poem spreads, it will surely cause a sensation in Confucianism and be widely sung by students from all over the world. Does this poem have a title? Nico Su remains proud. Actually don't know how to explain it. Only by maintaining an aloof posture. Can people stop asking? He said the poem has not been named yet. Gavin Yang's smile actually widened instead. This poem is indeed suitable for bidding me farewell. How about I come up with a name for you instead? Grandmaster Milesley and military strategist Simon Jong suddenly understood his intentions. How about naming it Farewell Gavin Yang of the state of Qin? Nikosu respectfully presents. All relies on teacher's decision. The two distinguished great Confucian scholars are even more upset. Shameless scoundrel, weak in poetry. This poem will spread. It will surely cause a sensation in Confucianism and be sung by students around the world. Gavin Yang's reputation will also rise with the tide. The key is his actions this time. It's equivalent to tying his own name to this poem. It is evident that this scoundrel is willing to sacrifice his dignity for fame. And at this moment, Nikosu cleared his throat. Teachers, this poem was not written by me. It was written by someone else. Aaron Su may never have thought of it in his whole life. Two great Confucian scholars fighting over taking him as a student is something Aaron Su would never have imagined. Just as Nikosu pointed out that the poem was not written by himself, but by his senior brother. The three great Confucian scholars were first surprised, and then Simon Zhang showed a look of, as expected? Just that all the students have gone crazy. They are all asking whether this great talent is from our academy. The more they discuss, the more intense it gets. Where did Nikosu's senior brother study? How come I haven't heard of this person? Who is your senior brother learning from? Hey, tell us. We have no clue about such poetic talent. The students are getting anxious. Nikosu suddenly realized that he had made a mistake. I shouldn't have mentioned what the senior brother said. All things are lowly compared to the pursuit of knowledge. It is evident that scholars are proud. Nikosu is one of them. If everyone knew that Aaron Su is nothing more than a vulgar government officer. A lowly worker can also write a masterpiece of poetry. Where should we put our faces? Nikosu forced himself to study diligently. My senior brother is studying classics diligently at home. He is neither at Yunlu Academy nor at Imperial Academy. He has a mild and uncompetitive personality. He does not enjoy fame and prefers the quiet to the bustling scenes. He only wishes to dedicate himself to scholarly pursuits until his old age. The students of Yunlu Academy were shocked. They were deeply inspired to make new friends, finding such integrity and moral character truly exemplary. Gavin Yang set off for State Qin. The leadership position was given to Nikosu without any surprises. And at this moment, Gavin Yang emerged with a glowing face. He also made a pointed remark saying, "Such great talent should not be concealed like a bright pearl covered in dust. What do you think?" Two great Confucian scholars did not know whether they really didn't understand or were pretending not to understand. They silently escorted Gavin Yang away. They watched the carriage depart from afar. Milesley suddenly grabbed Nikosu's hand and led him to the side. I suddenly felt like taking on a disciple. Since I have nothing to do today, take me to meet your senior brother. Simon John directly knocked Milesley flying and said, "Nico, if you and senior brother worship under my seat, it would be a good story." It's not important whether to write poetry or not. The key is not to bury such a talent. If in the future, by chance, a masterpiece is achieved, like a poem passed down for generations such as my teacher Simon Zhang, it would be excellent. Milesley expressed dissatisfaction, saying, "Military strategy is not the mainstream. Scholars should first learn the classics and nurturing his family." Simon Zhang snorted coldly. The way of chess is indeed mainstream. Moreover, he is someone who can't stand losing. He has never won a game against Joseph Wei. Bastard, shut up. Don't mention Joseph Wei in front of me. I have always valued talent. This student I have accepted. Is that valuing talent? You are lusting after his poetic talent. Shameless bastard, watch as my righteousness overwhelms and destroys you. Seems like I don't have such power. Two great Confucian scholars began to argue heatedly, with flushed faces, and eventually resorted to physical confrontation. On the other side, Aaron Su is currently in a competition with Zane Su. They are exchanging blows back and forth. Zane Su praised with a sentence, "Well done. Your skills have improved." Aaron Su modestly replied. That's too much praise. Zane Su couldn't help but sigh and said, in addition to the medicinal bath, to be promoted to the Chi forging level, you also need a master at the soul forging level to help you unlock the celestial portal. Otherwise, you will never be able to step into the Chi forging level. I have fought bravely in the battle of mountains and seas, accumulating military achievements. Only then did I exchange them for a military master to unlock the celestial portal for me to step into the Chi forging level. Zane Su sighed. The next year after returning home, Nico was born. Aaron Su wiped away sweat. Zane, what do you want to say? I have grown old. My only wish is to see you get married and have children. Only then can I be worthy of your deceased father. Aaron Su was speechless. To get promoted, besides accumulating merits, there is another method, which is to spend money. The royal government strictly controls the number of soldiers. It is clearly stipulated that masters of the soul forging level are not allowed to privately unlock the celestial portal for anyone. If they want to unlock the celestial portal for their family descendants, they need to report to the government. However, the bureaucratic atmosphere in Defying is very poor nowadays. Corrupt officials run rampant. The authority of the royal government is gradually weakening. They may not dare to openly violate the law, but there are still many soul forging level masters who will seek trading partners on the black market. Aaron Su works hard to make money, even coming up with the idea of using silver as a substitute for meritorious service. Otherwise, he has been stuck at the spirit forging level and unable to break through, which is equivalent to wasting time. Since the end of the tax silver case, the relationship between Aaron Su and his family has improved a lot. After a month of getting along, Lily Su's impression of her older cousin has changed a lot. It's no longer as distant as before. This is actually the first time she has gone shopping with this older brother. And at this moment, Aaron Su was staring at her. He suddenly came up with a way to make money. Can he improve the clothes by himself? Make women's clothes more beautiful and attractive. In an instant, many revolutionary women's clothing ideas flashed through his mind. But he quickly cut off this idea. In this conservative society, if he made these clothes himself, he would probably be beheaded. A tender but anxious voice interrupted Aaron Su's thoughts. Lila Su pointed at a vendor on the street and said, "Sister, I want to eat candied hawthorn." The Su family encountered a major disaster. Their money ran out. They have been living frugally for this month. Lily Su didn't have any bronze coins on her to buy candied hawthorn for her sister. Lila Su turned to call Aaron. Aaron Su felt helpless as he didn't have money either. But he will have money soon. He stepped on something. He bent down and picked it up. It was 1 cheen. He now had money again for today's watching performances in brothel. But this is really unscientific. It's always exactly the money for watching performances in brothel each time. Could it be that going to the brothel every day is fate? But I think I should first find a way to break through to the Chi forging level. I still don't know the power ceiling of this world. If my abilities become stronger in the future, maybe I can figure out the reason for my luck. Aaron Su generously bought 3 strings of candied haws. Lily Su modestly whispered, "Thank you." Aaron Su looked at her and sighed in his heart. His little sister is indeed pleasing to the eye. A pair of small hands kept waving in front of Aaron Su. She asked, "Is your candied fruit sweet?" Lila Su drooled as she spoke indistinctly. Aaron Su saw through the little girl's thoughts. "Do you want to eat it?" he asked. Lila Su was taken aback. She didn't expect her thoughts to be known by older brother. Older brother is really amazing. Aaron Su chuckled. Eating too many candied haws will make worms grow in your mouth. A look of vigilance appeared on Lila Su's little face. What kind of worms will grow? Aaron Su thought for a moment to describe to her. It's the chubby, greasy kind of worms. He had just finished speaking. He saw his younger cousin girl swallow nervously. She looked very excited. He gave her the candied hawthorn stick directly. And at this moment, Lila Su was attracted by the scene in front of her. Restaurant Moon is a third-class tea house. But even for a third-class tea house, you still need to pay a minimum of 2 Qin silver to enter. If you want to spend the night with a girl, depending on the quality, you could get a lower quality one for around 5 or 6 Qin. For higher quality, it could cost 1 or 2 tael. Aaron Su pondered for a moment. He confirmed that he was a person who couldn't afford it. Lila Su said, "The ladies upstairs are so beautiful." Aaron Su replied, "The ladies are doing business. Of course, they need to dress nicely." Lila Su curiously asked, "What kind of business?" Lila Su's eyes were bright and energetic. She looked up at the tea house, unwilling to leave. Lily Su tapped her foot and scolded. "Older brother should not discuss these things with his younger cousin girl, Aaron Su." Aaron Su quickly ran away. Lila Su pointed at Aaron Su and said, "Aaron is really good." Lily Su made a soft sound. Not long after, Aaron Su came back holding a portion of roasted fish balls. Just at this moment, Aaron Su saw 4 or 5 bodyguards surrounding Lily Su. The 16-year-old beautiful girl looked like a trapped doe. She was trying to protect herself while attempting to break through the encirclement. She was so distressed that she was almost in tears. Lila Su saw her sister being bullied, which made her feel so anxious and flustered that she didn't know what to do. She ran up to rich young man with her short little legs and started scolding him, pointing right at his nose. Rich young man watched as Lila Su in front of him was shouting and causing a commotion. He subconsciously raised the whip in his hand. He urged the steed to lift its hooves high, heading towards Lila Su to trample down. Lily Su let out a mournful wail. Aaron Su felt a surge of anger in his heart. The moment the horseshoe lifted, he took out the copper coins from his pocket. He threw it with all his strength. 72 copper coins whistled through the air, showering down on silk-robed rich young man. Rich young man had no reaction to the oncoming fatal attack. It was the bodyguard who responded instead. He threw himself at rich young man, knocking him off his horse. Some bronze coins missed their target and hit nothing, while others embedded into the horse. The spurt of blood splattered Lila Su's face. Lila Su, who was standing still in a daze, had not yet figured out what had happened. She collapsed to the ground as her legs gave way. She raised her small hand and wiped her face. Her hands were stained with fresh blood splattered from the fight. Aaron Su quickly covered Lila Su's hand with his own to prevent her from looking. He then hugged Lila Su tightly. Lila Su didn't even cry despite how thrilling it was just now. But as soon as she saw older brother coming, she immediately let go of all her guard. She burst into tears with a loud cry. He has been reborn for so long. This is still Aaron Su's first time getting angry. Aaron Su saved Lila Su. He immediately said to Lily Su, "Take Lila to Changle County Government Office to make a report. Tell them it was me who sent you." Then he asked law enforcer Wong to send someone to invite Zane from the Imperial Blade Guard Country Magistrate Zhu's home. It should be on Street H. Lily Su took a deep look at Aaron Su and said, "Older brother, take care." She then hugged Lila Su and left. At this moment, the rich young man also came to his senses from the previous chaos. He fiercely said to Aaron Su, "It's you who killed my horse." Aaron Su stood up slowly. He said lightly, "Yes, it's me. But now I want to kill you." Aaron Su is angrier than ever before. The horse that Aaron Su just killed is a priceless blood horse, which can only be ridden by officers of the rank of Deputy General or higher in the army. Its value is equivalent to a Lamborghini in modern times. In ancient times, being able to afford a supercar was a sure sign of belonging to the top-tier officers' kids. Aaron Su also calmed down his anger a bit, because he knew deeply. Only the kids of officers can defeat officers' kids with his current identity. It really makes him nowhere to vent his anger. Aaron Su gritted his teeth and patiently spoke in a polite and gentle manner. I am Aaron Su, the eldest son of Zane Su, the Imperial Blade Guard and leader of 100 household. Just now the two of them are my sisters. I'm not sure where we offended young master. I accidentally killed young master's beloved horse in a moment of panic just now. I will definitely compensate. Rich young man was stunned for a moment after hearing this. You said Zane Su lost tax silver, right? Aaron Su heaved a sigh of relief. That's right. The rich young man's face suddenly darkened. He said, You are trying to ruin him. Just leave it at that. The bodyguards all drew their swords and moved forward. Aaron Su almost cursed at the scene. Two bodyguards attacked together. Aaron Su dodged to the side. The bodyguard sandwiched Aaron Su from the front and back. He bent down just in time to dodge. He then lightly tapped the ground with the sole of his foot. Immediately, he leaped into the air. Thinking to himself, these two spirit-forging entrance-level opponents couldn't pose a threat to him. Just at this moment, the two bodyguards jumped to the left and right. A person appeared above Aaron Su's head at some point. When Aaron Su realized, the three individuals had already formed a situation of surrounding Aaron Su on three sides. Aaron Su had no way to avoid it. He was stabbed in the abdomen. Before Aaron Su could make any move, the person above him clasped their hands together and struck towards him. The next moment, Aaron Su dove towards the ground like a bullet. The rich young man also started to show off at this moment. Get down on your knees, Kowtow, and call me Grandpa twice. If I'm in a good mood, I may spare your life. Aaron Su replied loudly. Your punches are really bad. Rich young man did not provoke Aaron Su. Instead, he lost face himself. He sternly said, Kill him for me. Don't leave a single breath behind. The bodyguards surrounded them again. Aaron Su kept building up power under his feet, causing the blue bricks to crack open. He cursed silently in his heart. It's my turn to perform. Aaron Su darted out like an arrow. The bodyguard watched as Aaron Su flew towards him. They hadn't had time to react. Aaron Su arrived in front of him. The next moment, Aaron Su crashed into him. Several of his ribs were broken from the impact. He never expected that Aaron Su was hiding his true strength. Aaron Su dashed towards rich young man with undiminished momentum. He grabbed the man's neck amidst the other's frightened expression. Rich young man saw that things were going south. He was about to bring out his family's distinguished name. Aaron Su clenched his fist tightly and delivered a hard punch to the abdomen. Rich young man's body suddenly doubled over in pain. He spat out fresh blood from his mouth. Aaron Su said with a dark face, Dare to bully my sister. It's not that easy to settle. Then he punched a few more times. The bodyguards were nervous and scared, but they didn't dare to step forward to intervene. The rich young man collapsed on the ground. Aaron Su stepped on his face with ease. If you can't win, call for help. This has been a rule since ancient times. Aaron Su trampled rich young man under his feet. The surrounding bodyguards dared not step forward to break it up. But even though rich young man is now completely softened, he still wants to bully Aaron. Do you know who my father is? You vulgar soldier. Aaron Su kicked him. I only know that even a peasant can have wrath, and when a peasant is angered, blood can be shed within 5 steps. Both sides confronted each other for a moment. A group of law enforcers, wearing dark-colored uniforms with plain sabers on their waists, hurried over. The one leading them is that troublemaker law enforcer Wong. How dare he cause trouble in Changle County? Take him away immediately. The law enforcers all responded one after another. After a moment, the rich young man and his group were pressed to the ground. He hadn't figured out the situation yet. Why are you arresting me? Arrest Aaron. I will make him suffer 1,000 cuts. The law enforcers simply ignored it. They just pressed him and sent him to the government office. Wong turned back and said to Aaron Su, Brother, you have caused big trouble. That person has a complicated background. Have you figured out how to solve this? Aaron Su muttered to himself. I really don't know either. However, he still spoke up. Let's inform Zane first. In the government office, Country Magistrate Zhu said with a flattered look to the rich young man. Isn't this young Master Zhou? How have you been, Assistant Minister Zhou? Silk-robed young master waved his robe fiercely and pointed at Aaron Su, saying fiercely, This person committed violence in public and tried to kill me. Quickly take him down. Country Magistrate Zhu could only smile and try to defuse the situation. Then he glared angrily with round eyes. He flew up and kicked Aaron Su. Nonsense. Dare to even hit the young master of the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs, Lord Zhou. How many heads do you think you have? Although Country Magistrate Zhu seems like this on the surface, he still sighed in his heart about how silly Aaron Su was this time. Country Magistrate Zhu turned his head. He smiled again. Young Master Zhou is part of the family. Don't bother with someone insignificant like him. Aaron Su felt a sinking feeling in his heart. He actually is the young master of the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs. In the officialdom of the Defying dynasty, the power of a government officer is not determined by rank, but by background and authority. There are many first or second-rank government officers, but the ones who truly stand at the peak of power are actually very few. This includes the heads of the 6 ministries and assistant ministers. Even if you call upon Zane, this Imperial Blade Guard and 100 household leader, he is of no use at all. He fought with the son of the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs. This matter has indeed escalated. Young Master Zhou was very angry. Don't give me this nonsense. You want to arrest him? Then I'll do it myself. He waved his hand and ordered the bodyguard to arrest this kid for me. He didn't believe it. At the county government office, Aaron Su dared to resist and commit violence. Country Magistrate Zhu shouted angrily. Who dares to commit violence in the county government office will be punished regardless of the consequences. The government officers drew their plain sabers and rushed out. They confronted the bodyguard, who was about to take action. Young Master Zhou cursed loudly. How dare you touch my people? Country Magistrate Zhu still smiled. Young Master Zhou, don't misunderstand. I am an officer of the royal government just following the rules. With that, he took out a complaint. I have a lawsuit here, accusing young master of riding a horse to commit violence and bullying a virtuous lady. The plaintiff is Lily Su. Young Master Zhou disdainfully snorted. I rode my horse recklessly. Whom did I hurt? I bullied innocent women. Go ask around the streets. Have I laid a finger on any of these women? Country Magistrate Zhu took back the lawsuit documents. Then I guess this woman got the wrong person. Aaron Su is a bit flustered. Country Magistrate Zhu can't handle it. I have to find a way to save myself. If it really doesn't work out, I'll run away. But it will definitely put Zane's family in trouble. In a sudden turn of thought, he saw one of young Master Zhou's bodyguards leaving the county government office. And Country Magistrate Zhu did not stop him. Or perhaps he couldn't stop him. Aaron Su's heart grew colder again. He walked up to Wang and said in a low voice, Brother, I'm out of luck today. There's something I want to ask of you. Please lend me a tael of silver first. Wang took out a handful of small pieces of silver and gave them to him. Aaron Su took the small pieces of silver and put them in his pocket. Then he said, Leader, please hurry to my house. Please get a book from the cabinet beside my bed. Remember to grab the blue cover book. Do not take the wrong one. Immediately go to the observatory bureau after you have taken the book and find a girl named Camila. Please help me pass on a message. Aaron Su is in trouble. Please come and rescue him. Observatory Bureau is currently Aaron Su's only lifesaver. He asked Wang to take the blue cover book to find Camila Chu. Wang's face fell when he heard that. The Observatory Bureau is not a place where someone like him can go. He quickly waved his hand to refuse. Aaron Su knew it would be like this. He whispered, If something happens to me, no one will return your silver. If you help me with this, Next month my full salary will be yours. Wong gritted his teeth. But what can he do now? He could only angrily storm out of the county government office. At that moment, Zane Su arrived. Just as he entered the government office, young Master Zhou angrily pointed at him and said, "Who are you? Is this the kind of place you can just barge in? Get out." Zane Su paid no attention. He already understood the whole situation on his way here. At this moment, he suppressed his anger and said, "Can this matter be resolved amicably?" Young Master Zhou was taken aback by Zane Su's expression. Meeting his eyes, he seemed to sense a palpable threat. He remembered the words Aaron Su had spoken on the street. The reckless words stuck in his throat, unable to be uttered. And at this moment, a majestic aura emanated from outside the government office. Leader Su has such commanding presence. If my young master doesn't give up, blood will be spilled within 5 steps. Zane Su felt the aura attacking him from behind. The person who came is a master at the soul forging level. This is going to be difficult to handle. Young Master Zhou is overjoyed. Elder feels both heartbroken and angry when he sees the injuries on young Master Zhou's face. How did young Master get injured like this? It was which damn animal that dared to lay a hand on him? I've watched young Master grow up. I would feel heartbroken even for a tiny scratch on him. Aaron Su is anxious and upset. Rank 7 Soul Forging level. He has improved by 2 ranks on his own. Country Magistrate Zhu cleared his throat. "You are?" Elder interrupted casually. "I'm just a worker from the Zhou family." Country Magistrate Zhu smiled apologetically. "Senior, you're being too polite. I think this is all just a misunderstanding. With the Imperial examination approaching, we should prioritize harmony. What do you think, Senior?" Elder sneered coldly. "Just a few insignificant little people. It won't influence Master's Imperial examination." His words had just fallen when the chaotic and loud footsteps could be heard coming from outside the government office. In less than a moment, the royal guards had filled up behind Elder. The leader was a government officer dressed in a green robe. He looked around and declared loudly, "Department of Criminal Justice is here to arrest criminals. Others, please step aside. Those involved will be punished accordingly." Minister Wang finished speaking and squeezed out a smile towards young Master Zhou. "Excuse me, young master, I have a question for you. Where are the criminals hiding?" Young Master Zhou pointed at Aaron Su. "It's him." Minister Wang waved his hand. "Arrest him." The royal guards rushed up. They arrested Aaron Su. "What crime has my nephew committed, Lord?" Minister Wang glared angrily. "Whether there is guilt or not, I will make the decision. As the Minister of the Department of Criminal Justice, I have always upheld justice impartially." Young Master Zhou sneered coldly. He watched as Aaron Su was taken away under pressure. Zane Su wanted to step forward to stop them, but he was firmly held back by Country Magistrate Zhu. Young Master Zhou said to Elder, "I want that boy Aaron Su dead." The killing intent in Elder's eyes flashed briefly and disappeared. "Young Master, rest assured. I will take care of it." Zane Su watched them leave, unable to do anything. He could only slam the ground fiercely and say, "I will go and file a petition to the Emperor." Country Magistrate Zhu sighed. "Forget it. You won't be able to see the Emperor. The palace of the Emperor is a forbidden area where even the Imperial Blade Guard 100 household leader is not allowed to enter. You also do not have the power to submit a petition. What you can do now is to go find Nico. He is a scholar in the Imperial examination at Yunlu Academy. He might have a way. Although Yunlu Academy is heavily suppressed in the official circles, it has almost no room for survival. But those who live there are not weak scholars without any power. Those are a group of saint disciples. They excel at persuading people with reasoning. Initially, Nico Su was able to escape the fate of exile. It was all thanks to the group of people from Yunlu Academy. The Observatory Bureau is a place full of legendary colors. Here, the chief of the bureau is Lord Observing the Stars. he also sets the calendar. He is a banished immortal who can communicate with the immortals in the sky. The alchemists of the Observatory Bureau bring benefits to the people, akin to a divine being in the eyes of the people. Since they are divine beings, generally no one dares to approach where they live. Except for the poor soul Wang. He has attempted to turn back several times, but has always refrained. On the first floor of the observatory tower, there are the apprentices of rank 9 sorcerer doctors gathered inside. Wang was discovered as soon as he entered. Law enforcer Wang is a bit scared. His throat rolled and he stuttered. "I am a law enforcer from Changle County Government Office." He subconsciously held the blue cover book tightly in his arms. On the other side, Observatory Tower 7th floor. Jack Song is the best one among rank 6 alchemists. He is the 4th apprentice of the chief of the bureau. At the Observatory Bureau, everyone can claim to be the chief of the bureau's apprentice to outsiders. However, in reality, the chief of the bureau has only taught 6 disciples. They are known as the Observatory Bureau 6 disciples. He specializes in studying Aaron Su's alchemy science of extracting sodium metal day and night. But he ended up in failure. At this moment, a hurried shout interrupted Jack Song's senior disciple. Just now, a law enforcer came to look for Camilla's senior female disciple. He also left a message. "Please save Aaron Su in time of trouble." After saying that, he handed the blue cover book to Jack Song. Jack Song felt that the name Aaron Su sounded familiar, but he couldn't recall it. Jack Song flipped to the first page. The writing was downright ugly. But as he kept looking, he got hooked. Equivalent exchange. The principle that governs alchemy. Edward Elric. Jack Song started to think about what the words, Edward Elric, represent. Are they a code or some kind of alchemical secret language? Jack Song took a deep breath to steady his emotions. He couldn't wait to flip to the next page. The opening sentence is, "Stepping into the world of alchemy science." This is teaching people to enter the field of alchemy science. How arrogant. Jack Song thought. Alchemy science has always been taught through words and deeds. Those with exceptional talents can master it in a year or two. Those with dull talents may achieve nothing even after 3 to 5 decades. The Observatory Bureau still doesn't have a proper textbook to this day. Jack Song opened the first section and looked at it. This time he was even more shocked. He recognized every character inside, but couldn't understand them when they were put together. He only had one idea now. What is the chemistry mentioned inside? And what about physics? What exactly is he looking at? White-cloth individuals. Dare not speak up to disturb. Deeply worried about the ever-changing expression of Jack Song, the senior disciple. Is the senior disciple thinking about some unacceptable alchemy science again? Last year he tried to refine the flesh and blood of a cat into a tree, so that even if the head is chopped off, it can grow back. But was confined by chief of the bureau for a month. Jack Song was immersed in his own world. As he watched, his eyes suddenly lit up. Because he saw a detailed explanation on how to refine tax silver in alchemy science. The key step to refining tax silver. The truth lies ahead. He couldn't wait to flip to the next page. But it was just a blank page. Jack Song felt the urge to kill at this moment. When he calmed down, he remembered a sentence the person who had just delivered the book said. Aaron Su is in trouble. Please save him quickly. He suddenly felt enlightened. This is an exchange. He slammed the table abruptly. Jack Song's expression was extremely serious. He scanned the faces of everyone. Listen to me, junior brothers. This is an opportunity for the Observatory Bureau to rapidly rise. It is a rare chance. Alchemy science may usher in unprecedented glory. On the outskirts of the capital city, Nico Su and a group of classmates ride horses back. But at this moment, he saw his father galloping towards him on horseback. Zane Su shouted, "Nico!" Then he recounted the incident of Aaron Su being arrested. Nico Su realized the severity of the situation. Mishandling Aaron Sue could lead to big trouble. He immediately turned towards the two carriages in front seeking help. My elder brother is in trouble. Please ask teacher and Miles to help. The two teachers poked their heads out together when they heard the news. They said in unison, "It's the talented scholar who wrote that poem." Milesley shouted angrily, "How can this be acceptable?" Simon Jong was just about to speak. Milesley interjected, "Nico, leave the matter of your senior brother to me. You and your teacher should return to the academy first." Simon Jong snorted coldly. "Onlookers and others should not interfere. I will handle my students' affairs." Nico Su muttered in his heart, "Can we please stop bickering at this moment?" Teacher Miles, my senior brother, was taken to the Department of Criminal Justice. Milesley agrees with what was said. It's important to first save oneself, as an apprentice with a future. He reached his hand out of the car and waved it. The driver of the car was lifted by a clear breeze and gently landed by the side of the road. The great Confucian scholarly personally took the reins of the horse and drove the car. He said, "This horse can travel 1,000 miles in a day." Then, an amazing scene unfolded. The chestnut horse suddenly let out an excited neigh. Under its brown skin, tendons stood out one by one. In the blink of an eye, it had grown nearly twice as tall as an ordinary horse. Milesley drove the carriage away in a cloud of dust. Simon John snorted coldly. "You get off too." He sent the carriage driver to the side of the road and started riding the horse himself. He said in a low voice, "This horse is big and strong. It's not just any horse, but a fine steed capable of traveling long distances. It also has 6 legs. The same mutation happens again. It literally sprouted 2 new horse legs out of nowhere." Simon John caught up with Milesley's carriage in no time. Milesley was furious. How shameless, how could there be a 6-legged horse? Simon John chuckled. "I said there is, so there is." Milesley gritted his teeth. "Then my horse has 8 hooves." The horse mutates again. Its horse once again completes an instantaneous comeback. Simon Jang's face darkened. "Shameless bastard, want to compete with me for the apprentice, huh? My carriage is light as thin paper. It flies with the wind." Milesley widened his eyes. This bastard doesn't want to live anymore. On the flying car, Simon Jong turned around. He shouted loudly, "Shameless bastard, come over here." Milesley got angry. He pointed to the sky. "My carriage will drive through the clouds." Then his carriage's wheels raised a cloud of mist. Zane Su stared in astonishment at the scene until the 2 carriages disappeared into the horizon. He swallowed hard. "Scholars really have great imaginations." Nico Su looked at the sky. With a longing heart, he murmured, "This is not brag. This is Confucianism 5 degrees of virtue. It has another name. It comes from Chief of the Bureau Lord sarcastic remarks after drinking. Confucians overturning the law with writing." In the Department of Criminal Justice, inside the prison, Aaron Su wears shackles, leaning against the cold wall. According to the information previously reviewed, there are countless examples of the capital city government office bullying men and dominating women. These petty matters cannot even be brought to the emperor and are simply suppressed. But this is during the imperial examination. Aren't you afraid of political enemies attacking you? Aaron Su chuckled. They want to quickly eliminate me, and then use my family's lives to force Zane to endure humiliation and bear heavy burdens. In this way, they aim to resolve the aftermath. Aaron Su realized he had made a mistake. While the middle class may live comfortably, once they offend those lords, there will be no chance of recovery. The middle class wants to live with dignity. They must have their own power and strength. And at this moment, the prison door was knocked. The prison guard contemptuously said as he came out. Then he made a throat-slitting gesture. It was time for his last meal. In the Department of Criminal Justice Government Office, the Department of Criminal Justice Secretary is looking at the document file. A sudden strong wind gusts. The case file was thrown onto his face. When he took it down, he found that there were 2 more carriages outside the government office. Strange thing is, the horses were all lying on the ground. The visitors are indeed Simon Jong and Miles Lee. Sun's secretary hurried out to welcome them. "What's the matter with you two coming to my Department of Criminal Justice?" Simon Jong nodded solemnly and bowed. "Department of Criminal Justice arrested my apprentice, Aaron Su, today. Please release him, Sun's secretary." Secretary Sun broke out in a cold sweat. They arrested a student from Yunlu Academy. In the official circles, even though the Imperial Academy suppresses Yunlu Academy so much that it can't lift its head, because the Imperial Academy is an academy sponsored by the royal government. But Yunlu Academy, holding the cultivation of the Confucianism category, is not a soft persimmon that anyone can easily handle. The group of elders at Yunlu Academy are very protective, unless the apprentice they mention really commits a crime. Otherwise, who dares to proactively pick a fight with the people from the Department of Criminal Justice? Before Sun's secretary could even say anything, a worker ran over in a panic and shouted loudly, "Secretary Lord, a group of Observatory Bureau's white cloth has forcefully entered the government office, and we are having trouble stopping them." His words had just fallen. Jack Song led the people in. "Secretary Lord, we are here to fetch a person from the Department of Criminal Justice." Upon hearing this, Secretary Sun felt a pang in his heart. In a deep voice he asked, "Who?" "Aaron Su. He was just arrested by the Department of Criminal Justice for no reason today." Sun's secretary broke out in a cold sweat. "It's Aaron Su again. Who on earth is this person?" Even attracting the great Confucian scholar of Yunlu Academy is one thing, but now even the chief of the Bureau's apprentice has come. In Defying, no one is willing to offend the chief of the Bureau, even if they claim to be the orthodox Confucianism of Yunlu Academy. He was sarcastically mocked by the chief of the Bureau, who loves drinking, overturning the law with writing. He could only hold his nose and admit it. Government officers who came to watch were whispering to each other, "What's going on? Who is Aaron Su? You must be out of touch. Do you know about the tax silver case? The one who solved the case is Aaron Su. But this person is just a soldier. How did he get involved with Confucianism and the Observatory Bureau? Strange. There is no mention of Aaron Su in the arresting order." Sun's secretary's face darkened. "Who went to make the arrest?" Government officer's eyes glanced over. He pointed to a figure in the crowd, saying, "The person in the green robe is Minister Wang." Minister Wang felt as if he had fallen into an icehouse. "Secretary Lord, things happened suddenly. I didn't have time to get the arresting order. Young Master Zhou sent someone to deliver the legal documents. He said there was a thief who assaulted him in the street. Jack Song has been using the Qi observation technique to watch him, to see if he is lying." Minister Wang continued, "Primarily because this person is a soldier, and also the nephew of Imperial Blade Guard Zane Su, with the ability to flee in fear of punishment. So I decided to take him down first." Miles Lee stepped forward. He said in a deep voice to Minister Wang, "You'd better tell the truth." The next moment, Minister Wang only felt his heart beating violently. His blood rushed to his face. He felt ashamed and could not face himself because of lying. He despised himself for lying. His mind protested vehemently against his despicable behavior. His mouth also angrily moved beyond his control. He uncontrollably spoke. "Young Master Zhou wants to have Aaron Su killed and let him die in the Department of Criminal Justice's prison to vent his anger." Minister Wang collapsed to the ground. After saying that, he felt much more relieved. Secretary Sun's face completely darkened. He said coldly, "Pass down my order. Release the person." In the interrogation room on the other side, in front of Aaron Su, is a testimony book with distorted facts. If he really signs and seals it, the lightest punishment would be exile. But rich guy Zhou can do as he pleases. He might be sentenced to be beheaded at the vegetable market. Master Zhou held out 2 fingers and said, "I'll give you 2 choices. Your first choice is to confess and sign. The second is to try all the instruments of torture here once, and then confess and sign." Aaron Su felt a chill in his heart. It was obvious that they wanted to kill him. Leon Zhou looked into his eyes. "It's really terrifying. What should I do if I have to shed blood again?" Elder Qingshou sneered. "Young master, don't worry. I can kill him with 1 slap." Aaron Su gritted his teeth. This situation is not good. Why hasn't Camila Chu arrived yet? Did that jerk Wong actually go to the Observatory Bureau? If he did go, I clearly wrote the book very enticingly. How could she not be moved after reading it? Leon Zhou is enjoying Aaron Su's current expression. "I heard that you were raised by Zhang Su since childhood. Your relationship must be very good. I have reason to doubt. This is something you and Zane planned together." The veins on Aaron Su's forehead stood out. This bastard deserves to die even more. And at this moment, the door of the cell was opened. A cold voice resounded. "This is the Department of Criminal Justice. Young Master Zhou wants to interrogate the prisoner. Please go back to the Department of Household Affairs for the interrogation." Leon Zhou glared at the green-robed government officer and said, "Who are you? How dare you disturb me?" The green-robed government officer ignored him and followed the order from the Department of Criminal Justice Secretary to release the person immediately. Aaron Su breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. He finally got what he had been waiting for. Department of Criminal Justice Yard. The worker let go of Aaron Su's hand. Aaron Su stretched and said, "You should be grateful you didn't torture me. Please allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the new apprentice to the chief of the bureau." Leon Zhou and Elder's faces changed drastically. How is this possible? If he is really the chief of the bureau's apprentice, the tax silver case would not have affected the Su family at all. However, in the tax silver case, he successfully refined fake silver. Faced with this genius in alchemy, it is not impossible for the chief of the bureau to make an exception and take him on as an apprentice. He looked at the full courtyard of the Observatory Bureau Whitecloth Elder, as if he already had an answer in his heart. Aaron Su looked around and found that Camila was actually not there. Could it be that she's preoccupied with something? Please, fellow students, come to rescue oneself. Aaron Su chuckled and bowed with a smile. Aaron Su has met senior disciple. Jack Song is a bit confused about the situation. What is senior disciple? However, he quickly understood. Blue cover book was written by you. Aaron Su nodded. He glanced to the side. This is not a place to discuss matters. When we leave the Department of Criminal Justice, senior disciple will want to ask something. Aaron speaks without concealing anything. Leon Zhou looked somewhat panicked at the scene. He asked quietly, "Sun Lord, how did people from the Observatory Bureau come here?" Sun's secretary replied, "They came directly to me to ask for someone." At this moment, Leon Zhou felt weak in the soles of his feet. Elder pointed to the other 2 great Confucian scholars beside him and asked, "What about them?" Sun's secretary maintained the same tone of voice. "They have also come to take someone away." The 2 of them were struck by thunder. This time, the Zhou family might be doomed. What kind of monster did they offend in the end? At this moment, Milesley spoke up. "You are Aaron Su." Simon Zhang pushed past him and said, "I am Nico's teacher. But that poem was written by you." Aaron Su bowed. Junior's humble work. Apologies for making the 2 seniors laugh. Jack Song is urging from behind. He really doesn't want to stay for even a second longer. The matter is settled. Quickly follow me back to the Observatory Bureau. Everyone watched as Aaron Su left. Leon Zhou breathed a sigh of relief. The monster finally left. But at this moment, Aaron Su stopped in his tracks. He turned around and glared at the 2 members of the Zhou family. "I still have something to take care of." In ancient societies, strength is the only truth. Aaron Su turned back expressionless. Leon Zhou was startled. He quickly grabbed Sun's secretary and begged him to help him out. But Sun's secretary turned his head and waved his sleeve to shake him off. Su took the lock from the worker's hand beside him. He played with it without saying a word. Then he swung it hard. The chain smashed directly onto Leonzo's forehead. His head instantly burst open. The statement Su made about blood splattering 5 steps away really came true. Leonzo looked at Elder in his dying moment. He struggled to speak from his mouth. "Uncle Chun, save me." Immediately, he fell heavily to the ground. Elder's patience seemed to have reached its limit. The veins on his forehead bulged. Su looked at Elder expressionlessly. "You scared me to death. In front of my senior disciples and the officials from the Department of Criminal Justice. In front of the 2 great Confucian scholars. You step on this ant quickly." Elder stood there. The anger rising on his face receded like a tide. He staggered back a few steps. At this moment, Su also confirmed his thoughts. Indeed, only officers' kids can deal with officers' kids. Su bathed in the early winter sunlight. He felt like he had been reborn. And at this moment, Nico-su and Zane-su arrived late, riding swiftly on their horses. Su just left the government office when he bumped into them. Zane-su happily shouted Zane, and when Zane-su saw that he was fine, he completely relaxed. He was just puzzled. How come people from the Observatory Bureau also came? Nico-su bowed and saluted. "Thank you, teacher." "Thank you, Teacher Miles." At this moment, Simon Zhang expressed regret, saying, "How come you, older brother, with such poetic talent, became a government officer?" Nico-su glanced at Su beside him. "What do you think, older brother?" Just then, Su's hand was held by Milesley. "Are you interested in coming to Yunlu Academy to cultivate Confucianism?" Simon Zhang felt jealous. That shameless jerk stole a march on him. Even shameless was invited. They have only known each other for less than 2 minutes. Simon Zhang pushed him away in one swoop. "Nico has also surrendered to us. Wouldn't it be better if you all joined together?" When Su didn't respond, the 2 of them just held onto Su's hand and wouldn't let go. "What's going on here?" Su glanced at his younger cousin. The latter turned away and ignored him. Su couldn't figure out the situation and didn't dare to respond. The 2 seniors are deeply appreciated. Is sincerely apprehensive. Although I focus on cultivating martial arts, the sea of learning is boundless. Moreover, the junior indeed has talent in academics. If I were to go to the academy, I am certain that I can surpass Nico. When Nico-su heard this, he snorted coldly. He said, "What teacher and Miles value in you are your poetry. For example, farewell Gavin Yang to State Sheen." After he finished speaking, Nico's face stiffened. He dared not look at teacher and Milesley. Farewell Gavin Yang to State Sheen. So that's how Gavin Yang is. Upon hearing this, Su had a rough idea in his heart. He pondered again, and then he understood the intentions of the 2 great Confucian scholars. The extremely difficult official career path at Yunlu Academy naturally could not be recorded in the history book. At this time, the role of Su's poetry becomes even more prominent. Su's mouth twitched. He seemed somewhat disgruntled. Because when people take on disciples, they don't focus on his impressive appearance and steadfast character, but rather, they covet his poetry. The 2 great Confucian scholars are tough-skinned, thick-skinned, and always have a constant smile. Su quickly arched his hands. "Thank you both teachers for your kindness. Is wholeheartedly dedicated to his studies. Please forgive any disrespect. I had a sudden inspiration recently. I have brewed a few good poems. I will attend to this matter first before sharing them. I will go visit 2 teachers again. The 2 scholars are particularly happy. In that case, then the 2 of us will wait for you at Yunlu Academy." Simon Zhang finished speaking and looked deeply at Nico-su. "Nico, you have been at entrance level for a year. failing to progress to nurturing level. Go home and transcribe the quotes from Saint 300 times. Give them to me in 10 days. Nico Su suffers from thunder. Simon Jong turned around. I take 30 steps in one. He took a step forward. He disappeared directly. Aaron Su was dumbfounded. Where is that senior? Milesley gritted his teeth. This jerk deliberately showed off in front of my disciple. He drew a circle around himself with his toes. He glanced at Aaron Su. He said in a deep voice, I am within 3 inches. I do not belong here. I belong at the city gate. After saying that, his figure suddenly disappeared abruptly. Aaron Su widened his eyes. What level are these two great Confucian scholars, Nico? Nico Su has not yet freed himself from the despair of reciting the scriptures of the saint 300 times. Zane Su says, Listen to Nico. It is Confucianism 5 degrees of virtue. Aaron Su was shocked. Is it that as long as I brag enough, there is nothing I can't do in the world? What can make Aaron Su beam with joy? Of course, it's older brother's diachan around his waist. Confucianism emphasizes the 5 constants and the 5 relationships, which can regulate people's behavior and conduct. Users can manipulate others through language. The core ability of this level is to have a preliminary understanding of the principle of speaking in accordance with the truth. 5 degrees of virtue can to some extent manipulate the rules of things. Therefore, it also has another name. It's called overturning the law with writing. Zane Su enviedly said, Each major category has a super ability. Only soldier is good at being brave and ruthless. Aaron Su looked at Nico Su with a burning gaze. I treat you well on weekdays, don't I? Nico Su was speechless. Older brother, can you touch your conscience and say that again? Aaron Su ignored this. Still with a face full of yearning, he said, I have a favor to ask. If one day you reach virtue level, I need you to tell me. The beauty wrapped her legs around his waist. Nico Su couldn't stand this despicable older cousin anymore. He simply left. Jack Song, who had been watching from the side, also couldn't bear it anymore. He interrupted with a couple of coughs and said, Can we leave now? The observatory tower is the tallest building in capital city. The manpower and resources spent on building the tower amount to 1/3 of the annual tax revenue of the Defying dynasty. It was designed and built by the alchemists from the Observatory Bureau in collaboration with the royal government. The construction of the tower took 12 years. Anyone who sees the observatory tower for the first time will think it is a magnificent miracle. But Jack Song was puzzled. Why did Aaron Su look indifferent when he saw the observatory tower for the first time? Aaron Su has seen all sorts of modern skyscrapers. But he still explained, Zane often says, Ever since I was a child, I have had a calm temperament. Perhaps that is a talent. On the 7th floor of the observatory tower, Aaron Su met Camilla Chu, with whom he had a chance encounter before. She had a desk full of food. Why do you always find trouble? Camilla Chu asked, puffing her cheeks. Aaron Su casually picked up a skewer of fish balls. He was about to speak when Camilla Chu glared at him. She then slapped his hand away with a small hand. Her big fragrant eyes were full of alertness. It seems like you haven't eaten yet. Song's senior disciple, you take him back? Send him back after dinner. Aaron Su seems to have seen what Lila Su will look like when she grows up. At this moment, Camilla Chu spoke up. The tax silver case has ended. Do you know who swapped Zane's tax silver? Aaron Su shook his head. The one in charge of swapping tax silver is the 1,000 household leader Calvin Liu of the Imperial Blade Guard, as well as Colson Zin, the official of the Department of Household Affairs. I heard that Assistant Minister of Household Affairs Paul Zhou is their backer. Aaron Su almost couldn't help but curse. His mind seemed to have a current passing through it. In an instant, he understood many things. No wonder Leon Zhou, upon hearing his own name, made up his mind to bring me to the brink of death. Because I cracked the tax silver case and ruined something big for his father. So he wants to strike back in retaliation. Maybe what happened today was something he had been planning for a long time. Assistant Minister Zhou's mansion is located in the inner city and is far away from the Su family house. Leon happened to stroll to the vicinity of the Su family house. Unless he deliberately went there near the Su family house. Leon has checked on me. How could he not know what Lily looks like? His real purpose in flirting with a respectable lady is to pick a fight. He's using this as an excuse to destroy me. Although the imperial examination is approaching, it's hard to believe that eliminating a nobody could possibly threaten the senior third-rank Assistant Minister of Household Affairs. It seems that I have offended the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs ever since the day I broke the tax silver case myself. I originally wanted to stay away from politics. I wanted to be a wealthy man with many concubines as wives. I can live a simple and plain life. If it weren't for Nico happening to want to give a poem to the Academy seniors. If it weren't for me having a sudden whim a few days ago and writing down some chemistry knowledge from memory, I might have already died. Even Aaron doesn't know why he was killed. Recently, a series of consecutive coincidental accidents have occurred. It's really strange. Aaron Su's heart skipped a beat. His luck really helped a lot. Aaron Su suddenly felt a movement in his heart. Miss Camila, do you know how to use Chi observation? Camila Chu swallowed the food in her mouth and said, I do. Rank 8 sorcerer is called Chi observationer. The Chi observation technique is the most fundamental ability for us sorcerers. All subsequent super abilities are built upon the foundation of Chi observation. But do you know why the rank 9 of a sorcerer is healer instead of Chi observationer? Aaron Su turned his head to the side. He was not interested in the question, but he still asked. Is it that all of you sorcerers have a compassionate heart to save the dying and heal the wounded? Camila Chu stood up straight, presenting a serious demeanor. It seems that she enjoys the feeling of being a teacher, saying, all things in the world have the fate of Chi, with humans being the most prominent. Life is fraught with the 8 miseries, the 7 emotions, and the 6 desires, all falling under the responsibility of the fate of Chi healers to save the dying and heal the wounded. Inevitably, one will be touched by the cycle of birth, aging, illness, and death. Over time, a pair of clear eyes capable of seeing through the fate of Chi will be born. Aaron Su likes this kind of girl who has no secrets and holds nothing back. He asked, Can you see my fate of Chi? Camila Chu gazed for a moment. When she opened her eyes again, an aura emerged from her bright black eyes, instantly occupying her pupils. Along with Aaron Su, his spiritual perception was also affected. He felt as if he had a thorn in his back and was very uncomfortable all over his body. A moment later, Camila Chu slowly closed her eyes and said, Your fate of Chi is a pale red mixed with black aura, Aaron Su. He hurriedly asked for clarification. Red represents you are getting money from the government, but the color is pale, indicating you are a lower-level worker. Black aura symbolizes misfortune. I believe you have a deep understanding of this. Aaron Su frowned and tentatively asked, Are there no other colors, such as the one that symbolizes the chosen one? Camila Chu quickly interrupted him, saying, It's fine to say that in front of me. But if it's heard by someone with ill intentions, it would be a great disrespect. Besides the Emperor, no one dares to call themselves the chosen one. Aaron Su was also indifferent, saying, If there is none, then so be it. He then casually reached for something. Camila Chu's heart skipped a beat. She once again pushed away Aaron Su's hand. You want to sneak a bite again? I will feed you after I finish eating. Aaron Su is also angry. This whole table has been cleaned out by you by half. Is your stomach a black hole? But suddenly, Aaron Su remembered something. He spoke up and asked, How is the situation now, Assistant Minister of Household Affairs? Department of Household Affairs Imperial Censor recently impeached Assistant Minister Zhou. The official petition has been rejected by Your Imperial Majesty. As for the 2 individuals involved in the exchange of tax silver, they committed suicide out of fear of punishment. In other words, the evidence is also gone. But nowadays, if the Emperor really wants to eliminate someone, Evidence is not really necessary. Aaron Su took this opportunity to inquire about the imperial court. So, he grabbed Camilla Chu and started asking her questions left and right. Camilla Chu is not very interested in the matters of the imperial court, so she doesn't know much. She was quickly annoyed by Aaron Su's questions. "Oh, you are so annoying. We at the Observatory Bureau do not interfere in matters of the imperial court." Aaron Su is very speechless. It seems like I hit her pride as a teacher. He quickly changed the subject. He asked how much the price of this table of food is. I gave the shopkeeper 4 tael of silver and asked for some change back. Camilla Chu said anxiously. Then how much did I actually spend? Aaron Su thought for a moment and couldn't figure it out. Camilla Chu happily handed him a pastry, because she couldn't do the math either. She felt that Aaron Su was a kindred spirit and felt a lot closer to him. Aaron Su took a bite and commented, "This dish tastes ordinary." Camilla Chu is a bit upset. This restaurant is the best dining restaurant in the southern part of the city. But then Aaron Su's comment made her feel less enthusiastic. "I have had tastier food. When you're free, come to my house. I'll cook delicious food for you." She can't resist when she hears about delicious food as a professional foodie. Shortly after, Aaron Su and Camilla Chu went to the refining room. A group of white cloth gathered around the experimental apparatus, watching Jack Song operate it. Jack Song had a solemn look on his face. He had been stuck countless times in the next step in the past. Jack Song unconsciously looked at Aaron Su beside him, including Camilla Chu. The other white cloth also turned their eyes towards Aaron. Aaron nodded expressionlessly. Jack Song remained calm in his heart, snapped his fingers, and executed the final 6 steps of extracting sodium metal by summoning thunder. Suddenly, Aaron Su shouted, holding his breath. Everyone acted immediately without hesitation upon hearing the words. At the next moment, a scene that shocked the Observatory Bureau white cloth occurred. An irregular silver-colored block formed in the porcelain cup, similar to silver, with fine salt that had not completely transformed sticking to its edges. They inexplicably succeeded. I didn't change anything. It has always been like this before. He quickly asked if Aaron Su knew the reason. Aaron Su pondered. It was indeed because of his own good luck. Last time, it was because of being close to Camilla Chu. She also managed to refine sodium metal in just 1 try. But these things cannot be told to Jack Song. So he smiled in a pretentious manner. This question should not have been asked to me. An experienced alchemist should learn to think independently. I believe you should be able to realize where the key to the problem lies. Jack Song was taken aback by the words. The key to the problem. Jack Song's brain quickly started working, combining the experiences of previous failures with the current success for analysis. He said, "The previous steps have not changed. The real change should be in the final step." Jack Song's body trembled with excitement as he said, "I understand." The crowd hurriedly asked for more. Jack Song continued, "It's the intensity of the thunder." After finishing, he looked at Aaron Su with a questioning gaze. Aaron Su nodded with a smile. "I named it voltage." Jack Song was taken aback. It was another term he had never heard of. Electricity he knew, but what exactly was voltage? What is the experience of teaching chemistry to ancient people like? Aaron Su explained to them what voltage is. The crowd clearly looked like they didn't understand at all. Aaron Su felt exhausted. Let's try a different approach. He picked up a teacup. He poured out the water inside. Electricity and water flow in the same way. They will flow towards the lower point. It wouldn't matter if this cup were poured on anyone. But if it were a waterfall, a person standing within it could be hit by the force of the water and have their bones shattered, or even lose their life. Electricity is the same way. I call this phenomenon voltage. The white cloth suddenly saw the light. A young white cloth's face was full of curiosity and eagerness to learn. This is also written in the Alchemy Secret Manual. Aaron Su said in a deep voice. Right. Only I have read and studied the Alchemy Secret Manual. I had someone bring the notes from the Observatory Bureau. But it's just a drop in the ocean. The ancient books of alchemy not only contain knowledge, but also many unheard of alchemy science. And I have decided to share the Alchemy Secret Manual with the Observatory Bureau. The White Cloth group was boiling with excitement on the spot. But it is not free. Aaron Su talked eloquently. Never forget. The principle of alchemy science is equivalent exchange. Jack Song nodded. Agrees with what Aaron said. How much silver do you want? Aaron Su said in a deep voice. Alchemy science cannot be measured in silver. He added silently in his heart. What is priceless is that which money cannot buy. Changle County inside the government office. Lily Sue was crying, smiling, and wiping her eyes with a handkerchief. Everyone was looking at the beauty. Everyone's hearts were breaking. I didn't expect Aaron to have such a beautiful and charming sister. Wong quickly stepped forward to comfort Lily. Don't worry, the 100 household leader Lord will find a way to rescue Aaron. The crowd also chimed in to offer words of comfort. Lily Sue seemed somewhat out of place. Watching everyone's angry expressions, she did not seem to be pretending. It seems that older brother has a good relationship with his colleagues. Wong seemed to have noticed her surprise. Then he smiled and said, Aaron is a person worthy of respect. Lily Sue was stunned for a moment. Then she whispered, Could Law Enforcer Wong talk to me about older brother? Law Enforcer Wong fell silent for a moment. He unconsciously lowered his voice. In fact, for people like us, there are no clean hands. Even if we don't harm ordinary people, we can still be considered conscientious. As for those rich businessmen, isn't it only natural for us to take advantage of them? But your older brother won't. Whether they are common people or rich businessmen, he never engages in extortion or blackmail. Recently, considering the Su family's difficult situation, I decided to help them earn some money. He happily agreed with a big smile. Afterward, I gave him 5 cheen silver. But he later quietly returned it to others. To say he is sensible. Sometimes he is too silly. But to say he is not sensible. Sometimes he is very clever. He gets along well with everyone. So when something happened to him, everyone felt upset. Lily Sue listened in a daze. The image of older brother in her mind became tall, bright, and majestic. She has admired Nico Sue since she was a child. Because everyone says that everything is inferior to the pursuit of knowledge through reading. Because her mother always instilled in her that Nico is the Sue family's only scholar. He is the future mainstay. The worshipful sentiment reached its peak this year after Nico Sue passed the Imperial Examination graduate. But the subsequent tax silver case led to the entire family being imprisoned. Everyone was in despair and helplessness. Aaron paved a way out for the whole family in the midst of adversity. And all that has happened recently. She only then realized how reliable this older brother is. At this time, a person came in from outside the door. Lily Sue quickly stood up. The visitors are Zane Sue and Nico Sue. Country Magistrate Zhu also arrived later. He looked at Nico Sue and asked, How is Aaron doing? Nico Sue responded, He's fine. I invited a teacher, Miles' teacher, and White Cloth from the Observatory Bureau. Country Magistrate Zhu was surprised. Zane Sue also seemed to have found some clarity at this moment. No wonder White Cloth from the Observatory Bureau was also there. Lily Sue was also somewhat surprised. When did my brother get to know people from the Observatory Bureau? Country Magistrate Zhu gave Zane Sue a lot of compliments. This was obviously very gratifying for Zane Sue. Nico Sue's untimely cough interrupted the mutual praise between the two. It seems like you have misunderstood something. Miles' teacher was not invited by me. It's my older brother's own connection. I also don't know the White Cloth from the Observatory Bureau. It was also arranged by my older brother himself. Everyone was stunned on the spot. The words, impossible, filled their minds. Lily Sue smiled charmingly. My older brother seems to be getting more and more mysterious. The chief of the Observatory Bureau's fourth apprentice is Jack Song. He is a genius in the field of alchemy science. He is also a fanatic in the world of alchemists. He is known as the alchemy fanatic. He is obsessed with the study of living creatures and alchemy science. Aaron Su was invited to Jack Song's alchemy chamber. The chamber is filled with all sorts of strange things. But the most bizarre thing is a living cat with a body made entirely of wood. This great work was created not long ago. Jack Song combines cats and trees together. He expects to be able to chop off the cat's head and have a new head grow back like a tree. In fact, Jack Song is also close to success. Even if he cuts off its head, it will grow back in 3 days. But the only downside is that it turned completely into a tree. It won't move or think, and can only be kept in water. Jack Song looked at Aaron Su with burning eyes. "What do you think of my idea?" Aaron Su didn't respond. Instead, his gaze towards him became strange. Jack Song frowned slightly, feeling disappointed. "You also think there is a problem." Aaron Su finally chose to comfort Jack Song. "I just think you are heading in the wrong direction. Because I have also pondered this field of alchemy science, but I named it the crossbreeding technique." Crossbreeding technique. Jack Song chewed on the term. His eyes grew brighter and brighter. Aaron Su continued, "We can start with small steps. Crossbreeding species of the same kind. For example, crossbreeding 2 different breeds of cats to create an entirely new species. Perhaps they will produce completely new and excellent breeds. Perhaps it will be the opposite. But this is the charm of alchemy science." Jack Song became excited all of a sudden. "I believe that alchemy science is not limited to inanimate objects. I think creatures are also within the realm of alchemy science. So I have altered this cat." But the teacher disagrees. The teacher said that life is not within the domain of alchemy science. He even locked me up in solitary confinement for a long time because of this. Aaron Su thought to himself, "Well done." However, he still said, "If you want to challenge the chief of the Bureau Lord without being put in detention, I do have a suggestion. You can start with plants. Plants are also living beings, but their nature is much milder. I have seen a kind of alchemy science on ancient books on alchemy that coincides with your ideas here." Aaron Su didn't continue. Jack Song felt uncomfortable halfway through and didn't continue. "You go ahead and speak." Aaron Su pretended not to see it. "Song's senior disciple, the things here are quite nice." And then hinted, "The unchanging principle of alchemy science." Jack Song immediately understood Aaron Su's meaning. "I can give you 3 gifts." Aaron Su directly hit the like button for him. Jack Song directly picked up a military crossbow. "Resilience is stronger, but refining is difficult, according to your current spirit forging level. I think this item with stronger resilience suits you. Its most precious aspect is that this military crossbow is engraved with a spell formation. The spell formation can amplify the power of the arrows, posing a threat to soul forging level masters. However, it can only be used 3 times. After that, the spell formation will dissipate." Aaron Su's heart skipped a beat. "This is an artifact," Zane once said. In the past, Defying won the battle at Shanghai Pass Fortress thanks to the artillery's outstanding performance. Half of the firepower came from gunpowder, while the other half came from the spell formation artifact, a unique weapon of the Defying dynasty. This is also the confidence of the Defying dynasty in claiming to be the legitimate ruler of the world. Jack Song adheres to the principle of knowledge sharing. He answered Aaron Su's question. "Do you know what rank 4 sorcerer is called?" Aaron Su shook his head. He doesn't even know what rank 7 of his soldier category is. Jack Song said, "Anything refined by a spell formationer alchemist is just a normal object. When a spell formationer inscribes a spell formation on it, it becomes an artifact." Aaron Su seems to understand a little bit. Sorcerer rank 9 pharmacist is laying the foundation for rank 8 Chi Observationer. Chi Observationer lays the foundation for rank 7 Geomancer. but Geomancer has nothing to do with its next rank 6 Alchemist. In fact, rank 6 Alchemist complements rank 4 Spell Formationer. Alchemist refines powerful weapons. Spell Formationer processes them into artifacts. Aaron Su is feeling emotional. The category of sorcerer is quite complex. No wonder Chief of the Bureau Lord holds such a high status in the Defying dynasty. I must win over Camilla Chu. I have no special purpose, just want to find a sincere love in this cold society. Aaron Su secretly made up his mind. Jack Song's second artifact is the Heart Protection Mirror. What is truly precious about it is the spell formation inscribed on it, which can withstand a full force attack from a Chi Forging level master, up to 6 times, 3 times from a Soul Forging level master, and once from an Iron Body level master. The last item is called Bone Rotting Drug. Once applied to an arrow, it can claim the life of a Soul Forging level master. It is ineffective against Iron Body level masters, because the arrow cannot penetrate their skin. Aaron Su nodded. I really like all 3 of these things. He is taking advantage of others' shortness to satisfy his own soft-heartedness. Aaron Su has taken 3 artifacts from Jack Song. He then sold the grafting technique to Jack Song. But this can't be blamed entirely on Aaron Su, although he has a wealth of theory and knowledge. But his practical ability is really too appalling. But it doesn't matter now. Anyway, he has Jack Song, the alchemy fanatic, to help with the practical work. If Jack Song fails in the end, it would mean that his own abilities are not good enough. But if he succeeds, then all the credit would belong to Aaron. Jack Song knows nothing about Aaron Su's evil intentions. He is still innocently immersed in the ocean of knowledge. Aaron Su walked briskly up the steps of Observatory Tower. He carried 3 artifacts in his heart, thinking that he could use one of them as a reward to unlock the celestial portal at the black market, aiming to promote himself to rank 8. But these things are all very useful. He was a bit reluctant to part with them. He rewarded himself with a plan to go watch performances in the brothel tomorrow. If he could exchange these 3 artifacts for money, he would definitely be very happy. Thinking of this, Aaron Su became even happier. He happily bounced down the stairs singing a song. If you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel in front of the screen, you can also get rich. Don't forget to share the video with your friends in front of the screen. Just as Aaron Su turned a corner, he encountered a group of strangers. Both sides exchanged glances. Aaron Su's singing stopped abruptly. He retreated expressionlessly to the side. He felt goosebumps all over his body. Fortunately, he didn't sing too loudly just now. There are 3 people below the steps. The one in the middle is wearing a teal robe. His temples are frosty white, showing an elegant temperament. His handsome features and deep black eyes are as charming as a dark pool. He carries the marks of time and experience washed by the years. When 3 people walked past Aaron Su, the young man, with a gentle temperament, chuckled and glanced at him from the corner of his eye. At that moment, Aaron Su felt like he was being stared at by something terrifying. He couldn't help but hold his breath as his heartbeat accelerated. The 3 of them continued up the steps until they disappeared around the corner. Aaron Su only felt relieved after that. That guy seems very disdainful and hostile towards me. Could it be that the lyrics I sang were too rude? I need to pay attention to some things in the future, especially in public places. Aaron Su sang his way down the stairs again. On the other side, the 3 people went up to the 7th floor. Jack Song quickly bowed to them. However, Camilla Chu was still happily eating and didn't pay attention. The leader is the night watchman. The other 2 are both night watchmen. The one to the left of Golden Gong is Rosalie Nan, and the one to the right is York Yang. Jack Song quickly welcomed Duke Wei to take a seat. The teacher drank too much and is napping. Please wait a moment. Duke Wei didn't mind much. He picked up the tea and took a sip. When I went up the tower just now, I met an interesting young man. He doesn't seem to be an apprentice of the Observatory Bureau, right? Camila Chu was about to speak when she was stopped by Jack Song. He said he's just a trivial little character. Not important, but quite interesting. The night watchman has a fearsome reputation. In the eyes of civil and military officials, he's like a tiger or wolf. He doesn't need a reason to bully others. This organization engages in detective work, arrests, and other activities. At the same time, they also participate in collecting military intelligence and subverting enemy generals. It does not belong to the 6 ministries nor the military system. It is an intelligence organization of the imperial family. All government officers in Defying have heard a saying, "Do no evil during the day, and fear no night watchman at night." Jack Song is not sure if Aaron Su inadvertently annoyed this extremely powerful officer. Duque asked hesitantly, "How is the kid just now?" Jack Song hesitated for a moment. A genius. A genius in alchemy science. If he hadn't taken the wrong path in cultivation, his name would have been in the history books of the Observatory Bureau. Rosalie Nant also sneered. Duque smiled and nodded slightly. How high is Aaron Su's position in Ant's heart? Inner courtyard of the Su family house. The servants are making winter cotton clothes. At this moment, Jade Maiden spoke softly and delicately. "Madam, I went to find Aaron yesterday and discovered that he doesn't have winter clothes." Ant gave the clothes maid a cold snort and said, "What do you want to say?" Jade Maiden lowered her head and whispered, "Why not make one for Aaron too?" Ant snorted coldly. "There's no way I'm making clothes for that little troublemaker to take advantage of me. He won't even get a chance. He comes to our house for meals every day, but doesn't contribute to household expenses at all. His enormous appetite almost eats me out of house and home. Improving the relationship with him is possible. However, he always seizes the opportunity to pick on her with his words. He just can't get along with her. And simply can't stand him." At this moment, an anxious voice came through. The steward ran in panting and wheezing. Madam got into trouble. Ant froze in place upon hearing the news. Shortly after, Ant ran into the main hall of the Su family house with a sorrowful expression. Just as she entered, she saw Zane Su holding the unconscious Lila Su, with Nico Su and Lily Su standing next to them. Zane Su hurriedly ran over to his wife. So, he quickly comforted her with soothing words. "No problem. Lila just fell asleep." He also handed the toddler to his wife and held her daughter tightly. She breathed a sigh of relief after making sure everything was okay. But she didn't leave. With a tearful voice, she asked, "What's going on? How did things turn out like this after a short trip? And what about Aaron?" Zane Su let out a sigh and recounted in detail what had happened this morning to his wife. "Aaron has already come out. This matter is temporarily considered resolved. Otherwise, Aaron, Lily, and Lila would have been in danger. He's a bit stubborn, but he treats his family well. Can anyone else work as hard for our daughter as he does? Do you think he spends a lot of silver on practicing martial arts? Do you find his words offensive? He always opposes you. But have you ever thought about him? He has been living under someone else's roof for 20 years. Is it really that easy for him? Is his heart not sensitive?" Lily was bullied. He rushed up and fought with others. Fortunately, this time there was no danger. If Aaron really can't come back, you really won't feel sad. And was left speechless by the question this time. But the tears in the corner of her eyes have already said it all. Lily Su listened and listened. Tears started to pour down again. She felt that she had to repay older brother Nico Su well for the rest of her life as she looked at their usually strong-willed mother. Now her eyes were filled with fear and regret. Although mother always calls Aaron swallowing gold beast, she still cares about older brother in the end. After all, she has raised him for nearly 20 years. No matter what, she has developed feelings. Zane Su glanced at his son. If it were your son accompanying, this time he might also be taken away and bullied. Nico Su is full of question marks. shortly after that, and carried Lila Sue into the room to sleep. She suddenly said, "Jade Maiden reduced Master and Nico's winter clothes by 1 piece each. When Aaron comes back, measure his size." Jade Maiden found it a bit unbelievable. Madame changed her mind. Anne snorted. "In your eyes, am I the kind of person who is mean?" Jade Maiden murmured in her heart, "Aren't you?" Aaron Sue is grinding ink. He is about to start writing a diary again. In addition to this video, don't forget to watch the other videos on my channel. The other videos on my channel are just as good. November 16th. This is a day worth remembering. Because I finally made a decision. I gave up the wealthy but plain and dull life. I need power and force. About this, I have two ideas. My first method is to change the cultivate route. Try to cultivate Confucianism. I just need to appease the two great Confucian scholars. I believe they will staunchly support me. It's much better than struggling on the path of being a soldier by myself. Aaron Sue sighed. Others show off their reborn status with poetry, while I trade with poetry. However, the downside is that I have to recall the fear dominated by high school life. And I may not be suitable for studying. I am turning 20 soon. Switching to the cultivate route may be a little late. My second method is to work harder. I hooked up with Miss Camila from the Observatory Bureau. I have the support of Chief of the Bureau Lord. Even if I don't work hard, I can still live a comfortable life. My vision is very beautiful. But there are also drawbacks. I may have to bid farewell to the life of having multiple wives and concubines. At the same time, saying goodbye to watching performances in brothels. This sacrifice is a bit significant. My third method is to sell one of the artifacts obtained from the Observatory Bureau in exchange for the opportunity to unlock the Celestial Portal. The disadvantage is that the chief forging level still cannot compete with the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs, and without a backer, it is difficult to continue to progress vigorously on the path of martial arts. Zane being stuck at the chief forging peak for nearly 10 years is the best example. I am currently holding on to the Observatory Bureau and Yunlu Academy for now. I will plan for the next steps. I have a premonition. The tax silver case turmoil is not going to end here. Front hall of the Sue family house. Aaron Sue just climbed over the wall and saw Lila Sue doing an unsteady horse stance. She punched with her little fists, left and right. She giggled and made funny noises as she provided her own voiceover. Aaron Sue stepped forward and gently kicked her on the little buttocks. She fell down with a smack. Lila Sue got up, rubbing her buttocks, pointing at older brother, saying, "I am practicing martial arts." "Older brother, are you provoking me?" Aaron Sue was surprised, but he quickly figured it out. It may be something that happened in the morning that left a shadow on her young heart. The 5-year-old child feels that they should practice martial arts, so that next time such a thing happens, they can help their older brother. Aaron Sue chuckled. "That's right. What's wrong with provoking you?" Lila Sue glared at older brother's dad and said, "People have to stand up for themselves. Soldiers, too." Aaron Sue helped her add, "Indeed, we do need to stand up for ourselves." Lila Sue replied coldly, "Yes, I want to duel with you." She then ran over with her 2 short legs, swinging her fists. Aaron Sue placed one hand on her forehead. Lila Sue became very anxious, shouting and throwing punches uncontrollably. Aaron Sue found her annoying and said, "If I give you a chicken leg, will you agree that you have lost?" Lila Sue's eyes lit up. "Okay, deal." While biting into a chicken leg, Lila Sue said, "Older brother." Aaron Sue felt a headache coming on. He patted Lila Sue on the shoulder and said, "You have potential." Aaron opened the door of the study and went straight to the point, seeking the opinions of Zane and younger cousin about what happened this afternoon. "What do you think?" Zane Sue looked somewhat puzzled. "Hasn't the matter already passed?" Nico Sue frowned. "Are you saying that Leon Zhou might still seek revenge?" Zane Sue waved his hand. "No, no. If it were just a regular day, it would be fine. But today, the Great Confucian scholar from Yunlu Academy and Whitecloth from the Observatory Bureau have intervened. I anticipate that Leon wouldn't dare to cause trouble. Aaron Su said solemnly. I just received a message from the Observatory Bureau today. The mastermind behind the tax silver case is Assistant Minister Zhou. Nico Su paused for a moment and said, It seems that today's events were not a coincidence, but a deliberate retaliation by Leon Zhou. Aaron Su felt somewhat pleased. Sure, indeed. As expected of a scholar who passed the imperial examination graduate, his mind is very sharp. If Zane Su is the only one here, this secret talk today would be meaningless. Because Zane was forced to be anxious. He would only say, If you're my brother, come with me to fight. He is indeed a rough and rude soldier. He is usually a weak and feeble scholar. He also has a side with a sense of valor. Nico Su faced older brother's interrogation. He directly threw out a sharp critique. Attack first, and you will prosper. Attack later, and you will suffer. Aaron Su was taken aback. It's hard to imagine Nico Su would say such decisive and ruthless words. But when Zane Su, as the head of the family, heard these words, he felt that he could no longer remain silent. Put away your ignorant and arrogant thoughts. Don't think that just because you are a mere imperial examination graduate, you are the top scholar. You can't afford to offend the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs. He just finished speaking. He was coldly rejected by his nephew. I think Nico's idea is correct. The person we offended is not Leon Zhou, but Assistant Minister of Household Affairs Paul Zhou. Leon Zhou may no longer dare to retaliate. But what about the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs? We not only ruined his good deeds. I also injured his legitimate son. This account. As long as someone has a temper, there is absolutely no reason to endure it. Moreover, in the eyes of Assistant Minister Zhou, the Su family house is no different from ants. He has even less reason to let us go. Zane Su still feels it's inappropriate. We can't compete with Assistant Minister Zhou. Aaron, you know Whitecloth Nico from the Observatory Bureau, is a student at Yunlu Academy. With these two connections, as long as we keep to ourselves, no one will dare to provoke us. Aaron Su reminded. Zane, you may not know that Whitecloth from the Observatory Bureau does not interfere in imperial court affairs. Nico Su continued, when dealing with the tax silver case, I am also a student of Yunlu Academy. The reason older brother can come back today is because Leon Zhou is unreasonable, and his methods are too low level. But if Assistant Minister Zhou takes action, there will be another tax silver case. He reasonably and legally ordered the Su family to be decimated. Can the Observatory Bureau and Yunlu Academy help us rob the prison? In order for us to resist the law of Defying. Zane Su, the head of the family, felt his authority being challenged, frowning deeply. But how should we deal with the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs? After all, he holds the esteemed senior third rank. Aaron Su is also very helpless. I don't know either. Aaron Su cast his gaze on the handsome little brother. What does Nico think? Nico Su remained silent for a long time before slowly speaking. I was thinking about something just now. Tax silver was robbed. Emperor Thunder was furious. Obviously, he values silver very much, so he should punish the criminal severely. But he didn't. I can think of two possibilities. One possibility is that the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs has some backing behind him. The other is that the Emperor has concerns. For example, he needs to maintain a delicate balance. Older brother mentioned that the Department of Household Affairs and Imperial Censor have accused Assistant Minister Zhou of embezzling money and grain from the National Treasury. Why did the Department of Household Affairs Secretary not impeach the other Assistant Minister? Why did the Department of Household Affairs Secretary Aaron Su feel a twinge in his heart? Assistant Minister Zhou's political enemies are going after him. Nico Su nodded. The teacher had said that from ancient times until now, the core of controlling a country has always been balance. The Emperor did not move Assistant Minister Zhou. This is very likely related to political infighting. Aransu pondered with his chin in hand, saying, "The art of imperial politics might be effective in normal times. But at present, the imperial examination is imminent. If we can catch Assistant Minister Zou's handle, there is a great possibility of taking him down. The imperial examination is an ancestral practice, and even the emperor cannot act arbitrarily. Therefore, Assistant Minister Zou's political enemies will not give up on this." Nikosu was surprised. He didn't expect his older cousin to speak such profound words. Aransu thought to himself, "I am still too young." Nikosu asked in a scholarly tone, "How do you think older brothers should handle this?" Aransu scoffed in his heart. "You really don't like to admit defeat, do you?" "If you hit the like button, beautiful girls will come find you tonight." Aransu remained composed and said, "Assistant Minister Zou, why would he create the tax silver case to prove he is not corrupt? Corruption can happen anytime. Why would he do it during the imperial examination? Unless he urgently needed some silver to fill a hole. And the reason for filling the hole is precisely to cope with the imperial examination." Nikosu raised his mouth. So we need to find out the real reason why Assistant Minister Zou embezzled tax silver. We need to solve the case, so that Assistant Minister Zou has nowhere to hide. Admit guilt and accept punishment. Aransu was just about to say that. He suddenly saw Nikosu's half-smiling eyes. The words were left unspoken. At this moment, Zainsu slapped his thigh excitedly and stood up, saying, "I understand. So we need to expose this matter and leave Zou with no escape." He was thrilled, feeling that his brain had finally lit up once. Nikosu chuckled. "My father thinks that, in your capacity as the Imperial Blade Guard 100 household leader, you can openly access the document file of the Department of Household Affairs through the Assistant Minister of Household Affairs." Aaron chuckled and said, "Thanks to Zane for sacrificing himself to step on the landmine for us." Zane, after experiencing a double blow, felt that maybe he should stay silent. After a round of discussion, Nikosu felt somewhat dissatisfied with himself for not being able to outsmart his older cousin. He pursued, asking, "What does older brother think we should do?" Aransu pondered for a moment and then said, "Drive away the tigers and swallow the wolves. The main force to deal with Assistant Minister Zou is not us. What we need to do is to be the final straw that breaks the camel's back. However, as for how to do it, I haven't figured it out yet." Nikosu nodded in approval. "Step back. We don't need to deal with Assistant Minister Zou. He is cunning and resourceful. It's not something we can handle now. But as long as he is human, he will have weaknesses." Aransu's eyes lit up. He exclaimed excitedly, "Leon Zou." In Nikosu's eyes, radiant like stars, a hint of cruelty flashed through. "Yes. Compared to Assistant Minister Zou Leon Zou, he is easier to deal with. The impeachment charges are not sufficient. Then let's fabricate the charges. Help our political opponents of Paul Zou. Let them assist me in killing Paul Zou. The imperial examination is imminent. If Assistant Minister Zou's young master does something outrageous and offends the heavens and angers the people, as a father, Paul Zou cannot escape his responsibility. The emperor is willing to protect him once. He may not be willing to protect him a second time. As for this," Nikosu frowned and said, "Although this point of entry is good, the other party is not a fool. Framing and shifting blame may not work." Zainsu listened to his son and nephew talking, suddenly realizing that as the head of the family, he had been marginalized to the edge of this secret discussion, completely unable to get a word in. But as his son's analysis progressed layer by layer, Zainsu's thoughts became clearer and clearer. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it was possible. He couldn't help but excitedly pound the table.